Evening. I am going to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Welcome, everyone. I am President Lauren Christensen. Thank you all for being here. It looks like we have a packed house, and we're happy that you're here this evening. I'm going to go around the horn and ask my fellow board members to also introduce themselves, starting with Ms. Ahmed.
Amin Ahmed. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see a full room.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Picard, and welcome everyone.
Good evening. I'm Anupam Chisudu. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Patrick Keogh. Love to see a standing room only crowd.
I'm JD Westra. Thank you for coming out tonight.
All right, and we'll go to our student co-chairs.
Hi everyone, I'm Saeed Pawar and I'm a senior at Canton High School as well as a Student Voice in Action co-chair.
Good evening, Josh Patterson, SVA co-chair and Plymouth Junior. Good to see you all here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, and then Dr. Merritt, can you introduce yourself and your team?
Yes, good evening. Welcome, Superintendent Monica Merritt. Pleased to see everyone here this evening. We want to begin by introducing my assistant, Miss Diane Robertson. We want to thank her for being here to capture our minutes, and also Mr. Krieger, who takes care of our technical needs, positioned right there. So thank you, Mr. Krieger, who has become this amazing voice of PCCS. I really look forward to your reels as well as your calls, Mr. Krieger. Have remaining members of the team introduce themselves to you.
Thank you, Dr. Merritt. Kurt Tiskowitz, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Welcome.
Good evening, welcome. I'm Jill Minnick. I serve as Chief Finance and Operations Officer.
Good evening, Beth Rail, Chief Academic and Innovation Officer. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Abdul Medyoun, Chief Human Resource Officer.
Good evening, Liz Vartanian Gibbs, Assistant Superintendent, Student and Family Engagement.
All right, let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to the adoption of the agenda and approval of the consent agenda. This is action item number 25-02-48. Can I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval and adoption of the consent agenda, action item 250248.
Can I have a second?
Second.
It was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Secretary Westra. Dr. Merritt, can you please take us through the agenda?
Thank you, President Christensen. This evening, our consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have new hires, resignations, and retirements for your consideration, as well as the approval of minutes from our regular meeting that was on January 28th, 2025.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Mr. Madoon, can you please take us through human resources?
Yes. First, I would like to start with our retirement. We have one retirement on our agenda for today. That's Cherise Ailo. Was a math teacher at High School Virtual Academy. Has been an employee of the district since 2000. We wish them well in their future endeavors. And then I have several new hires. And if you're a new hire, I'm going to call your name. Please stand up and give you a moment of give some applause. And I'm going to take you out and get you a sweet treat to help your, sugar levels. So Kathleen Lewis, who was hired as a cognitive impairment for Bentley. Colleen McDougall, a cognitive impairment teacher at Canton. Melody Matthews Calhoun, instructional coach Title I at Erickson. Vanessa San Miguel, instructional coach at Holben. And Marissa Weller, music secondary at Plymouth. Thank you all for joining the Plymouth Canton family, and if you follow me out in the hallway, I will get you a sugar high.
Welcome.
No, you're good. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to celebrating success with Member Kehoe.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited this evening on behalf of the Board of Education, it's our honor to recognize two outstanding individuals from Erickson Elementary School with the Extra Miler Award. Diane Strawn, Premier Substitute Teacher, and Jocelyn Carson, the Media Paraprofessional. Let's begin with Diane Strawn. Diane consistently goes above and beyond to support teachers, staff, and students, whether assisting with arrival and dismissal or bringing positive energy to school every day. She steps in without being asked. Diane's commitment to understanding the students' needs is unparalleled, and she knows nearly every student by name. She actively visits classrooms, checks in with students, and offers valuable insights to teachers. Diane's participation in staff meetings, her thoughtfulness, and her constant connection with colleagues make her an invaluable member of the team. Diane is a reliable, dependable, and truly exceptional person who always gives her best. At this time, I'd like to invite Leanne. I got it phonetically listed, but thank you, Jen Andrea. Leanne Jen Andrea, a second grade teacher at Erickson Elementary, who nominated Diane for this award to share her thoughts on Diane's contributions.
Hello, everybody. As you already informed everybody, I'm Leanne Jen Andrea. I'm a teacher at Erickson. I've been in the district many years, and this is my first time nominating somebody, so I'm really proud of Diana. She is a premier sub. She's been in our school for over 5 years. We didn't really actually count, so we don't know how many years exactly, but around that amount of time. I just want to compliment her. She's such a wonderful addition to our staff. She takes a lot of pride in her work every day. She takes it very seriously, and most importantly, she's there for all of us, the students, the teachers, the administration, the secretaries. She's there for all of us. One thing I wanted to point out, you said a lot of the things I said in my initial nomination, but she greets her students often. She knows all of the students. That's something I really admire about her. You can ask her, where's this kid or where's that kid's class, and she knows where everybody is. One thing as a classroom teacher, subbing in my classroom, first of all, she adapts very well to the classroom. She knows what every teacher is like, and she focuses on how they are in the classroom, and then she adapts to that. She follows through with lesson plans. She communicates with the teacher. She meets the needs of the students to the best of her ability, and that's always 100%. Most importantly, that she's always gracious, she's always willing to help, and she always has a smile on her face. One thing is we're trying to figure out how to hack the system so we can get Diana to be our sub. Instead of putting in the sub finder and getting a random sub, we always want Diana. So we're always trying to figure out ways how to do that. We haven't figured it out yet. So thanks to Diana.
Diana, can you come up here for a second? Diana, on behalf of the Board of Education, I'm proud to present the Mary Beth Carroll Extra Miler Award to Diana Strawn for her remarkable contributions to Erickson Elementary School and for always going above and beyond. Diana, would you please come forward to accept this award? And would you like to say a few words?
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Yes, I would love to thank the Plymouth Canton Community School District, first of all. We moved here 20 years ago in looking to find a good school district that we wanted to be a part of, and we found it in Plymouth Canton. I've been a parent. I've also been an employee. I'm very privileged to accept this award from Plymouth Canton, and thank you to all of my administration and my teachers at Erickson Elementary School, and I thank Leanne Jen Andrea for always finding the good in people and being an amazing teacher herself. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to Jocelyn Carson. Jocelyn is a constant source of support for both students and staff. She founded and maintains the snack pantry, ensuring that students who come to school without snacks have access to them throughout the day. Jocelyn also provides essential items like books, coats, shoes, school supplies, and holiday gifts to students in need. She creates a safe, welcoming environment in the Media Center and is always ready to lend a helping hand. Her involvement in school events like the book fair, fun fair, movie nights, and spirit days shows her dedication to making Erickson a better place for all. I'd now like to invite Mary Connor, a special education paraprofessional at Erickson Elementary, who nominated Jocelyn for this award, to share her thoughts on Jocelyn's contributions.
Hi, I'm Mary Connor. I'm a para over at Erickson. Been there 14 years. Jocelyn started with us in the kitchen as cafeteria, and then she moved into the media position. And in our building, the media desk is the center of the building. And so she sees everything that goes on. And kids need a person. Every kid needs that person that they connect with. She connects with those kids that are hard to connect with. You come in the morning, she's got 5 or 6 kids already waiting for her at the desk, wanting to know, can I sit with you? Can I help you? Telling her they've had a bad weekend, or they've had a bad morning in their classroom and they need a break. They go to her. She loves those kids that are the hard ones to love, and she connects with those kids. And we are so fortunate to have her, and I just wanted to make sure that the rest of the district knew how amazing she is.
On behalf of the Board of Education, I'm thrilled to present Jocelyn Carson with the Mary Beth Carroll Extra Miler Award for her incredible contributions to Erickson Elementary and for consistently going above and beyond. Jocelyn, would you please come forward to accept this award? Would you like to say a few words?
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and especially my Erickson family in the corner here, and Miss Connor for always making me tear up per normal. Erickson is a huge family. Every single person in that corner deserves to be up here just as much as I do. I've never worked in such a humbling, family-like community who are kid-oriented. You can walk into our building any single day and any single person is willing to give you the jacket off of their back or the shirt off their back to make sure that you are okay or the students are okay. I am blessed and privileged to be a part of such a great community. Thank you.
So this concludes our Celebrating Success segment for tonight. Please thank you all for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. Please follow Dr. Vartanian Gibbs to the hallway for photos, for those that are connected to our celebrants.
All right, it's hard to follow Celebrating Success. It's so wonderful. But I am going to move us on to Board Committee Reports and Action. First up is my President's Report. I'll be brief. There's a few things I wanted to touch on this evening. One being, it's been about a month since we last all met. Many of you are aware that we had a regularly scheduled board meeting on February 11th that was canceled. I just wanted to elaborate on the reason why we had that cancellation. We had 4 board members who were unable to attend our meeting, which left us 1 board member shy of quorum. So in the event that we don't have quorum, we do have to cancel. So all of the board agenda items that were on our February 11th meeting have been shifted onto the agenda for this evening, with the exception of our robotics presentation. So we're working with the team to reschedule that, hopefully in the near future. Secondly, I just wanted to lift something actually for my fellow board colleagues. We've been invited to a STEAM networking event that's actually being held this Thursday in Salem High School at the Rock Cafe. So this is hosted by the P-CCS, really with a goal to connect teachers, administration, and school board members. I know we've seen multiple emails and reminders and board notes, but I wanted to lift that here and formally ask all of you to join if you are able. I certainly will be there as well. And that actually concludes my presence report. So short and sweet this evening. Okay. Moving on to Student Performance and Achievement Committee with Secretary Westra.
Good evening. We last met on February 8th in this room. And in that meeting, we covered, we had an HR staffing update and a special education program update as well. And also we covered the AP chemistry course materials that will be presented in tonight's meeting. It was a good meeting for everyone. One thing that we really enjoyed was the special education program highlights meeting, and I believe that we all suggested that it would be really wonderful to see a similar presentation in a future board meeting, if at all possible. Our next meeting is Wednesday, March 5th at 5 p.m. in this room. So we hope that you'll all come and join us. It's open to the public, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. On to Policy Committee with Vice President Sadhu.
Thank you, President Christensen. We actually just met about 2 hours ago and went through our packet of old business as well as new business. First, I want to thank the 2 new students from Student Voice and Action Committee who joined our committee, and their feedback, their input, their questions were invaluable to the process because we always want a student voice in this whole process. So thank you to SVA students for joining us, and they'll take that information back to the whole committee. So our items for today were Policy 6320, which is purchasing. We did work with Jill, and I sent this to Treasurer Kehoe, given that it actually originated out of Finance and Operations. So sort of been back and forth. They will discuss it at Finance and Operations, give us a more robust, clarified policy that we will review for purchasing back in the Policy Committee, and we'll go through another round of ayes in the Policy Committee. Then it will come to the whole board for a first read, and then we'll go through a second read. So sometimes these things take a while. The other policy we discussed was student accidents. Based on a new law that requires a cardiac arrest plan for each school district, we had to update this policy, which is 5340, to include how the district is going to be reacting to the cardiac arrest plan. So it was added to that, and I believe that is ready to come to the whole board for a first read at the next meeting. Another policy that we've been discussing for a couple of months is 7440.03, small unmanned aircraft systems, also known as drones. We went through this with a couple of iterations to make sure that students had access to coding with drones. Knowing that drones are part of our future, we wanted to make sure that our kids had an opportunity to engage with drones in a safe way. So what the policy does, it really outlines a section that we chose as a district to make sure that students under the direction of an employee of the district had access to working with drones. And Superintendent Merritt will be working with staff and students to make sure that things are spelled out in terms of what happens if things don't go right, and also how do we make sure that everyone, students, staff, and families, have the most updated information with regard to how do we handle this responsibly. So I think that is also ready to come back to the whole board for a first read. The next one is a huge one. This took us a long time. Criminal Justice Information Security. Imagine going through 300 pages with legal counsel trying to figure out what this means for our district. So this took a while. Basically, the FBI updates their protocols annually, and they tell the state, the district, here's how we want you to work with safety, security, with background information for employees and how to protect that information. So this new policy requires a local agency security officer, also known as LASSO. This person is designated by the building or by the district to ensure that this policy will be implemented with fidelity. It has multiple components with the Privacy Act statement disclosure, training, and kind of a breakdown of multiple roles and how to handle different incidents if they do come up. Right now, it's really for state background checks, but in the future, it might expand to national databases. So I believe, are we ready for a first read on this? Or is it going to come back to the policy?
I think it's going to come back to the policy. We want to look at a few more things, tweaks on it, and bring it back to the policy committee before we bring it to first reading.
Okay, great, thank you. So it will come back to the policy committee with some updated language based on our conversation today. We jumped into conflict of interest. There are 3 new policies that are being looked at to expand conflict of interest. And this is, some groups have a conflict of interest policy, some groups don't. So this is an alignment to make sure that all groups have a conflict of interest and how is it handled. The policies are pretty identical, but it's just separated by groups. So we started to work on this, but there's a lot of work that we need to do, and we're gonna pick this back up at the next meeting. And the future meeting will also look at grant funds, internal controls, cash management of grants, and cost principal spending. So I urge all of you to join us at our next policy meeting, which will be coming up March 11th, Tuesday, March 11th at 5:30 p.m. I also wanted to mention that we are doing interviews for our new community members to be part of the policy committee. Every 2 years, we go back to the community and say, hey, are you willing to serve on this committee and be our community representatives? And it was really nice that we had a really good group of people that were willing to step forward. So out of all of the people that applied, we're going to be doing interviews in a couple of weeks and narrowing that down to 2, maybe 3 people. So that's it for me.
Thank you. On to Finance and Operations with Treasurer Kehoe.
Thank you. Finance and Operations Committee met last Thursday, February 20th, here in this room, and it was a jam-packed agenda because the previous F&O meeting had been canceled due to the weather event. So we had a huge list of items that we went through. We started at 5 p.m. and went almost till 8 o'clock. It was a very exciting meeting. We spent almost 45 minutes talking about parking lots and paving, and you'll see that coming up this evening tonight. We also talked about structured cabling and other items that are going to be on the agenda this evening, as well as the long overdue and much anticipated Salem High School renovation that'll be on the agenda this evening, as well as the Farron furniture purchase, the financial reports for the month ending January 31st, and had a brief discussion around the purchasing policy. At this point, we want to get some additional details before we make a recommendation on policy changes. And like the other committees, we're also discussed how we bring forward our applicants for the citizens representatives. We have 5 citizens representatives. We will be interviewing them at the next meeting that is on Thursday, March 6th at 5 p.m. here in this room. And we welcome the community to come to that. We do have some very exciting things that are happening. And last but not least, we have already opened and will be extending the time our community budget survey. This is an opportunity for you to provide feedback and input to us as part of our budget process. We've got that up on the website right now. We're going to push that out through social media as well as other broadcast channels to make sure that people are aware and they have a chance to be able to provide their feedback and input to our budget process. We use that information to help provide guidance and input to the entire board as well as the administration to help set the priorities and drive the budget process, which has begun already. So again, our next meeting is Thursday, March 6th, 5 p.m. here in this room.
Thank you. Okay, on to Student Voice in Action with Sai and Josh.
Okay, at yesterday's Student Voice in Action meeting, we held our elections for the student co-chair positions, and we will announce the 2 selected students in about a week, and they will begin the new term in May.
I strongly urge you to come to our next meeting on Monday, March 17th at 4:30 in the Pioneer Media Center. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I had an opportunity, I chair that committee, and I just will say we had a lot of wonderful applicants for a co-chair, and it was really, really inspiring to hear what each student had to say during those presentations. All right, and that concludes our committee reports. We'll move on to administrative reports and recommendations with Dr. Merritt.
Thank you, President Christensen. As we continue to work to fulfill the goals of our dynamic plan, one such goal is around community engagement. We know that enrollment season is upon us, and it's such an important time of the year as we talk with our own community members. We know that we offer a world-class experience for our families, and being so large, our families have told us at times they don't even know all of the things that we have to offer. Another one of our community partners said that they could be key ambassadors in that space, and those were our local realtors. We know that they're often the first point of contact for families moving into the Canton and Plymouth communities. So we are excited to invite their talented professionals who sell the homes in our district to join us this Thursday at the Realtors Breakfast. They'll enjoy a strolling breakfast while they visit various stations that are going to be staffed by PCCS administrators, central office staff, principals, and just showing and showcasing the programs that we do have available. They have valuable insights, and it's a two-way dialogue, which was also a part of that dynamic plan in terms of not just one-way communication pushing out, but being there to answer questions about these opportunities and services and programs we provide for our students. So this will be held on Thursday from 9 to 11. This year we'll be at the Plymouth Cultural Center. That's going to be at 525 Farmer Street. Want to invite board members, if you're able to stop by, that's a great opportunity to engage with the realtors and that community. I think we have our municipal partners that are going to show up as well. So that is an event, again, to just extend to our families and our communities what our schools have to offer. Now, when we talk about this enrollment season and also some work to be responsive to our community, our digital platform has been one that we've talked about for years. So I want to first commend the communication and marketing team for months and months and months of work to try to be responsive by updating our district website. So if you could take a look over the midwinter break, we've launched our new website. We want to invite our community to take a look at PCCSK12.com to explore this website. It is updated. It's designed to be more user-friendly, easily navigated on a variety of different devices. Each school actually has its own website now, and they have, what do you call that, a web person? A webmaster that will make sure that they can really update that website for each school, and you can access the school by name.pccsk12.com. We also have easy access to MyStar resources for families as well as resources for our employees. So again, it's very exciting to travel through that new website, being responsive to what we hear from our community, and we hope that you are having a good experience with that. Recognizing as you port over this old website, there will be areas at times when things are not working, and so we're making sure that we have multiple ways for people to communicate with us if there are dead links on there or things that need to be upgraded. We'll also do a little surveying as well. We're getting feedback right now in terms of some of those fixes, which I think it has been a very smooth transition. Again, I'm very proud of and grateful to our communications team for the work that they've done on this, but to continue to make sure that we're improving and being responsive to our community. Another part of that enrollment process and bragging about the exciting things that are going on in our district comes through this magazine, and we've now launched our second. We do this twice a year. Grab your copy. So it should be dropping in your mailboxes, and this is really an opportunity, the Plymouth Canton Community Schools Press, to really showcase the exciting things that are happening for our students and our staff within that community. This issue features information about our high school academies, opportunities for young learners, our outstanding AP programs, and 2020 bond updates. Again, as we're looking to enrollment season, we want to make sure that we are informing our current residents as well as those that may be looking to explore attending school in PCCS, all of the incredible things that we have to offer. The final piece I'm proud to share. Back in 2016, we launched a video working in partnership with Highway Media. It was about why PCCS and how do we capture in a video really the full range of things that we offer for our community. So we thought it was time for an upgrade to that video. We went back to Highway Media, which is a local business here in Plymouth Canton area. Mark Solom is the owner of that media company, and spent hours within our schools capturing video and testimonials from families, from staff members. And then they pare it down to what would be the first phase is this 5-minute video that I'm proud to share tonight. We'll also have some time with students. So he'll be working to provide for us some snippets of student activities that will do the full range of our curricular as well as our co-curricular activities. And then we'll have some small versions, because everybody's not going to want to watch a 5-minute video all the time, but small versions that they'll get from some of that media that they captured during their time here. So if you could just draw your attention here, we'll show this latest edition.
When my husband and I were looking to purchase our first house, one of the biggest factors we looked into was a school district that was highly rated, and we felt that Plymouth Canton Community Schools fit that bill.
Being a part of the district has really helped my children excel socially. They started early on to develop friendships with students from various backgrounds, various cultures, and just really starting to embrace and bring that into who they are as citizens of the world.
We're definitely preparing students for life.
What makes P-CCS special is we provide a world-class education. We have high-quality curriculum and instruction. We have an amazing staff that is student-centered and coursework that really prepares our students for the world beyond P-CCS.
I think that the elementary level is where you set the foundation. You get to learn through play, you get to spark kids' excitement for learning.
We know that we can't teach academics until we address social emotional needs for students. This includes relationship building skills, social awareness, knowing that what you're learning is relevant to your life.
My passion for teaching is when I watch and witness young people grow. And definitely the middle school level, because they are growing adults. They may be silly and immature at one point, but then like that light bulb goes off. And that kind of warms my soul daily.
So one of the things our district is trying to do is to create these lifelong learners that can go about the world and hopefully make it a better place.
So the learner profile has 6 characteristics that every student will have when they leave P-CCS. So these are things that every student will work on through their education journey, PK through 12.
We promise that these children will be highly educated and ready to enter the world, be that college or the workforce or even armed services.
We don't know the jobs of the future. We know the skills that students are going to need to have to be successful in the future, and that's where we're focusing our work in innovative practices as well as the P-CCS learner profile. Our students are engaged in innovative experiences throughout their educational career in our schools, from elementary in the innovations classroom to the STEM labs that exist in our middle schools, to the career and technical education opportunities that exist in the high schools. All of these are experiences that help students to be career and college ready.
So this is a 6th grade social studies classroom that is doing building thinking classrooms. So they're getting to think about a task or think about something in social studies, work together with their peers, and work through a task until they're getting an answer. And I just find that kids are more engaged in social studies than they've ever been before.
You're teaching students how to persevere through challenges. You're teaching them how to ask questions, but you're also giving them opportunities to collaborate with others and share each other's ideas.
Whatever your interest may be, we have something for you. Whether it's STEM, whether it's IB, whether it's Arts Academy.
They have opportunities for sports and over 100 clubs to be involved in. There is a space and a place for every student in P-CCS.
Plymouth Canton schools are dedicated to improving the arts. It's engaging to see how much enrichment we have within the district.
We have our Security Operations Center, which we have people watching and proactively making sure that we're safe.
Within that center, we have 1,600 cameras. We've been able to work with Motorola. We're one of 2 school districts in the nation that we're utilizing their AI and their technology to keep our students safe. I'm really proud of Echo. He's a therapy dog, but he doubles as a weapons detection dog. And when it's time to go to work, Echo is ready to ensure that our students are safe.
When people come here, they stay here. It's not unusual for my children's teacher to have actually been a student of Plymouth Canton Community Schools.
We go above and beyond to make sure that we give children and families the best education that they could possibly have.
I'm really excited for all the opportunities my kids are going to receive in the next steps of their education. They are going to be offered so many opportunities that I never had as a kid, and I cannot wait to see what they pick and where their journey takes them.
We truly educate the whole child here at P-CCS and give each of our students the opportunity to learn, prepare, and thrive.
So again, just very
I'll just share as we look, we've heard from our community in terms of we give tours, for example, for prospective families that are not currently attending our school. And how when parents are shopping around, those that are attending our schools would like the opportunity for those tours as well. So that is something new that we'll be working with our schools. Actually, on our website, you can go and request a tour of a building here at our schools, and those could be for our resident students as well. So really just, again, trying to be responsive to what we hear from our community, make sure that we're able to make big somewhat smaller, and really showcase this incredible program and experience, educational experience we have here at P-CCS. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Merritt. Okay, we're moving on to finance and operations with Ms. Minnick. First up, we do have consider approval of a resolution for bid pack number T-10 E-rate structured cabling and network electronics, and number E11 network electronics. This is a first reading. Can you take us through that?
Yes, thank you, President Christensen. It is my sincere pleasure to bring forward for your consideration this evening actually 5 items that are related to our bond program, and we are so sincerely grateful for the community support of our bond program. So we have some very exciting projects coming up. First on this list for your review this evening is bid pack T10, which is E-rate structured cabling and network infrastructure. Since you're already at the podium, I'll introduce Mark Selzer, our Director of Integrated Technology Systems, and he can introduce his colleagues. This is a program whereby, it's a federal program, where school districts are eligible for partial reimbursement of some telecommunication services. And with that, I want to note for the record that this is a bid pack being recommended for a grand total of an amount not to exceed $131,926.07, net of reimbursements of $42,189.43. These purchases will be made using the 2023 bond program proceeds. Thank you. Mark.
So good evening, everybody. I am joined with our Barton Mallow consultants, Brian Jesse and Matt Stockert. We can speak to any of this, but yes, these first 2 resolutions, this first one before you, we always look for opportunities to try to find out how we can save money for the district. And in this instance, we apply for reimbursement from the government for eligible goods and services, and we have done that, and we'll continue to do that. And so this first program dovetails with the bond projects that are also scheduled at the same time. So the first E-rate piece is for Farrand and Salem. And so any of the projects that we see that need technology that we can apply and get reimbursement, and this is over the course of an 18-month window, we apply for that. And that's what we did in this instance, and this is the resolution we brought before you. And I'll have maybe Matt speak just for a moment to it.
Oops, sorry.
Get out of your way.
Yeah, so like Mark was saying, this is for Farrand Elementary School. There's going to be an addition going on, so we'll have new technology as it relates to the E-rate program, so structured cabling, access points, and network switches there. And then we also have some renovation work happening at Farrand as well, and then at Salem High School over the next 2 summers that will work in conjunction with construction.
Yes, and just to clarify, so structured cabling is the cables in the wall that provide data for phones, for computers, et cetera, and they provide access points, which are the ones that they're the little appliances that distribute a wireless signal for your devices. So that's part of that, and then the electronics that can manage that connection. And I don't know if you have any questions, but we're open to them.
Okay, I'll open it up. Actually, I'll start with Josh.
I have no questions, but great work as always. Thank you.
I have no questions either. Thank you.
I have no questions. I just want to thank the community for supporting, again, all of this bond work, and I want to thank you for applying and getting the grants that'll reduce the cost of it.
Echo the support to the community and for doing the grant applications. We had an extensive conversation on this in our F&O, so I don't have any additional questions, and I don't think there's any pertinent materials that our audience would want to know about.
Yes, echoing the sentiments of thanking the community, and of course thank you for your ongoing work in making sure that we get the best price and get funding available where we can. Just a question about the old equipment. Do you have a process for how you discard of old equipment that's safe Or does a new company take the old
So
equipment?
in this first resolution, there won't be any old equipment. So this is technology that's going into newly constructed spaces or supporting new learning areas.
Got it.
So there won't be. In the next resolution, I can speak to that.
Okay.
But this one doesn't have that.
Great, thanks.
I just have a question with, as I looked at, after being at F&O, and I looked over it again at the grant, the federal grant, I was just, with Trump's new executive order, I was concerned, our district, with that, how are we guaranteed we're going to get the grant funding?
So
Because that, with some of our policies and stuff, I don't know if that we would actually get that.
So this, it's a great question. There's discussion right now around whether or not to continue so this is a program through the FCC, and they've been soliciting public feedback right now to have, should we, continue this program or whatnot. So right now, it's not at risk, but they're reviewing whether or not they're going to continue the program, because it's a multi-billion-dollar program that supports school districts and libraries throughout the country, typically disproportionately supporting less resourced schools and libraries. So we don't know. Right now, we have signaling from the state and the E-rate director for the state that we should expect to see no impact for this billing, for our submissions for the next year, but there might be challenges past this next cycle.
Okay, so they would still go for a second reading?
So
We would-
when the government approves, so what'll happen is if you all read this and you say great, and then we read it again in a couple of weeks and we say great, then we file March 26th, and then we wait for the government to give an approval. Once they give the approval, and that can happen anytime between after we submit and September, typically you hear in the summer, then we know the money's there and we're good to go. And we typically write our contracts so that there's a contingency where it's contingent on the government approval to move forward with some of the project. So there's a little bit of a safety net that we set
Okay, that's what I was
so that if we have to pivot because of the lack of funding. But we've been fortunate so far. We've received, I was calculating recently, this program has provided us between $3.5 and $4 million in reimbursements over the course of the time I've been here. And I'm hoping it'll continue because it's a great program and it does definitely benefit the district.
Okay, and was there anything with it, like other requirements that come with that? with the
Oh, there
grant?
are. So you have to certify that you're, for example, providing a filtered experience for all of your community members. So there has to be a filtered experience for your staff and for your students. This is internet filtering. So you have to, there's stipulations like that you have to, because all of this is to support infrastructure around technology, and they expect that you're going to filter the experience for the learners. And there's a few other qualifications like that. So we always certify, we review and confirm that we can certify, and then we certify that we're in compliance. And that's the requirement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mark, I want to confirm, this is going to be needed even if we didn't have their E-rate process.
So we would, but for example, you're right, we will proceed, but we always set up, because there have been times, for example, when we did the access refresh several years ago now, we wanted to have an out for the quantities, because typically when you get a contract, you have a commitment for the quantities. So we said if the government doesn't approve, we again limit our, we adjust our response or commitment to the contract.
Right, but we still would need structured cabling, we still would need access points, but we might make some adjustments.
We would.
Into that.
Right.
If it was not supported by the E-rate program.
Yep, for sure. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Member Ahmed?
I have no questions. Thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you. Very good, thank you.
So
We'll
can I
move-
continue with another resolution after
Yes.
you describe it?
We will move into bid pack E11.
Okay. So this is the second part of our E-rate resolution. So we're looking to replace the two core switches that are at the heart of our district's network. We put them in 11 years ago or 12 years ago, and they They need to be replaced because we have heavier usage on our network, a lot more concurrent sessions. I had described, went maybe into the weeds a little bit, but we have literally hundreds of thousands of concurrent sessions. So when you go to a website, you're pulling down a web page, but you're getting ads, you're getting a lot of things. There might be 20 or 30 different calls that are going out to present that page to you. And we need switches that can handle lots of people, somewhere on the upside of like 11,000 people concurrently doing anything and everything on our network. So we're looking for a core replacement. The government allows reimbursement, fully eligible. The entirety of our appliance would be, in this case, it's two. We have a core of two items that play nicely together, and that's what we're looking for. And then on top of that, we're looking for a firewall replacement. So we've had a firewall. By the time this would be placed, the current one would be 5 years old. And we also, are, I don't want to say stressing it out, but it needs to be renewed, either for new definitions and a little bit more oomph and power, or we get another one. And it's actually more effective for us to get another one. And in this instance, the government now allows you to do what's called high availability. So we're actually going to get two of them. One will be at Plymouth and one will be at Liberty. And then they can balance load, or if one has a problem, the other one will take over. We haven't had that before. So we've had all of our filtering in one place, which means if there's a problem at, in this case, Plymouth, where we've had our main network, then the whole district doesn't get filtered. In this instance, we're going to move to a more resilient network, and that's the other part. So the two pieces, we're looking for a core and for a firewall, and the government does provide reimbursement for them. I don't know if you have questions.
So just one clarification on the packet. If you scroll up, I think that there's a small typo. It says that the reimbursement amount would be $42,383.69, and I believe it's $92,383.69.
No, I think it should be the 42.
Well, the total amount is $184,767.
Oh, actually, I don't have. So sorry,
I believe that is a typo on the recommended resolution. It states that the total would be $134,841.01, which is the correct amount, I believe. That would give rise to a reimbursement of $42,000.
Did I mess it up, or is it?
No, I think that we have in a different packet that it's been sent to us.
Oh wait, so this is.
I apologize.
This was different than our agenda.
No.
I'm sorry, am I looking at the wrong thing?
Yeah, this is not the one that we're talking about right now. So
We are on E11.
So the next packet.
It's within that same link for item number 1. Mm-hmm.
Nope, that's not the one. This is. Can you go back? Sorry. We're looking for E11. Do you have E11?
It's in the that first link.
I'm sorry. So it's in the same resolution.
Yeah.
It's in the.
So there's the first resolution that I can page 26, because it's E-rate. If you continue down to 26, you see the other one.
Okay. Because it wasn't combined like that in our FNO. It was separate.
It was separate?
On the agenda.
There are two bid packs under this agenda item, bid pack T10 and bid pack E11. They're all part of the same PDF attachment.
Page 1 has the
T10.
first, and if you scroll down to 26, you go down to page 26.
There.
There we are.
Right
At
there.
the bottom of, yes.
42,000, I think, is wrong. 'Cause
I
the
believe-
total says 184,767.38.
The total is erroneous. It should be 134,000.
Can you go down here just a little further, please? Sorry.
It is correct on the next page.
On the right, let me see.
Okay. So regardless, the 42,000.
That's the, no, 134,841.
Yes, that's the correct total of the two contracts.
The resolution is correct. I apologize. We will amend this for the second read.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just pointing out some discrepancies I saw in the numbers, okay?
Very good. I'll mention as well that these projects will be funded again by the 2023 bond program proceeds. Great. Thank you. All right, I'll open up. Does anyone have questions, starting with Josh and Saeed?
I have no questions, thank you. How you explained it was very in detail.
No questions, thank you.
Member Westra?
No questions. Yeah, no questions.
We talked extensively about this at the F&O on the merits of the technology, how it's related to the technology we already have, and how it's going to be deployed throughout the district.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
No questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One more?
The next agenda item for first reading is consideration of bid pack T11, which is a partial award for this bid pack. It's technology related to two other bid packs for first reading. I'll pass this along to Mark and his team. Thank you.
T11 also relates to the same buildings as T10. We're looking at adding paging and clocks and video surveillance and access control in the addition at Farron Elementary School, as well as supporting construction at Farron and Salem as it relates to those categories as well. We're also planning on bringing an award recommendation for AV at a later board meeting for AV as it relates to those construction sites, as well as replacement classroom audiovisual systems at the park, the Thury High Schools, and Starkweather Academy. But we need a little bit more time for that. If you want to add.
Just be video. We're looking at replacements at the park and at Starkweather, and that's coming to you hopefully at the next board meeting.
This bid pack does not have any E-rate funding associated with it. And so with that, then, the total of the award would not exceed $194,998.77, also funded by the 2023 bond program proceeds.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions, starting with Josh.
Just one clarification. So is this audio and video or just video?
So it's audio and video at Farron and Salem in the new areas. And we're going to also be bringing a video replacement for the whole of the park and Starkweather, but that's coming later. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No questions, thank you.
Member Westra?
Josh's question clarified my question, so thank you for all the work.
And just for clarifications and confirmation, this portion is only for the portions that are being included here. The video portion that will be coming later will be a separate funding amount and a separate approval.
Yes.
Thank you.
No question.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
The next item for your consideration this evening is to consider awards for bid pack P-CCS-3 for Canton High School paving. As our bond team makes their way forward to the podium, this, as stated, is a bid pack to pave the Canton High School areas, and I will pass it over to Brian Gussman with our construction management firm for description of scope and all the details.
Perfect, thank you. I am Brian Gussman with McCarthy & Smith. Thanks for having us. We have a few presentations to present today, all associated with the 2020 bond program. First is going to be P-CCS-3, which is the Canton High School paving replacement. I'm actually going to step aside and introduce one of my colleagues, Nick Tyndall, to walk you through the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Like Brian said, here to talk about the P-CCS-3 Canton paving project. This will be split into 3 phases. If you've been by Canton High School, there is a teacher lot a student lot, and then kind of the side drive that takes you past the soccer field, baseball field, football field, kind of back towards the maintenance, and then there's a back staff lot as well. Here on the screen, I have some phases colored. It's kind of how we currently plan on moving around the projects. Phase 1 is that the green area. That'll be roughly June 18 to July 30th. The reason that is so long is due to a detention pond that goes kind of in this little drive area here. That was from Wayne County. That discussion kind of started when we did the Innovation Hub Edition, kind of went through plan review on that one. Due to the projects going on around campus, they had talked about having us do that during that project. We were kind of able to get them to allow us to put it underneath this project since we hadn't bid this out yet. There's already a large site work scope on it. So they had agreed to let us go through with that to keep us moving on the Innovation Hub project, which is previously awarded and under construction right now. That area in the green, which is that staff lot, that is a mill and cap of the existing parking lot. So we go down a couple inches and then just repave that back up, give it a fresh look on top, as well as that detention pond. Phase 2 is going to be kind of around that east field. We had discussions with APAAs and some other people as far as timing on that. They kind of said that around the 4th of July time was the low point in the usage on that field. So that's why we kind of have this one starting July 7th to July 31st. I know there are a couple sporting events happening just before that 4th of July date as well. So this kind of gets those in and done, and then we'll come in. The blue and the purple are both full depth replacements. So we get rid of all roughly 4 inches of asphalt that's currently there, regrade, do a little bit of site work improvements and drainage, and then repave that. Included in the phase 2, you can kind of see it on the screen, but on the northwest portion of that east field, you see it that there is now going to be a fence in between the field and that maintenance building back there. That was a request. Maintenance has trucks and people coming in and out, even at into the night hours. So definitely during sporting events, with that being wide open, that was a concern there, plus security as a whole. So it was requested that we put in a fence there. I do know at F&O we talked about that potentially being a choke point as far as not being able to get people through. We had talked about it later on in our weekly meeting. That is a 16-foot width. So there should be quite a bit of room over there to, even if someone was standing at the fence, to still have people moving around behind them to keep that area moving along. And then lastly, phase 3, which would be that student lot, roughly August 1st to August 29th. That also is a full depth replacement. All of these dates, again, are contingent based on Wayne County approval. As of today, I've not gotten word that that has formally been approved by Wayne County. So again, this is all based on if we get that approval in amount of time that we can still get everything together. If it gets down to we're going to be rushing everything, then it'll be a conversation with the team on how exactly we want to tackle this. That way we still are able to complete all the work at the end. So as far as the overall scope, again, parking lot updates, milling and capping of that staff lot, full depth replacement of the other 2 zones, striping, full striping in all parking lots, and then the drive entrances, which is where that asphalt paving would meet the 2 road entrances into that area. That'll get all new concrete as well. Again, that stormwater management system by Wayne County. I did not touch on it, but the security arm gate. So currently on that side drive, there is a area right here that students are able to come down here and into the parking lot. The two gates will be just behind that entrance, basically making it so that students can't come back by the auto shop, back by maintenance, and in that area. During the school day, those who have badge access will be able to scan through those gates and gain access to the back area, but anyone coming down that drive without badge access will then be forced into that purple phase there. As far as the bid summary, overall we'll have 4 contractors, a site work contractor, an asphalt paving, an electrical, and a fencing. As far as bid breakdowns, the numbers there on the right are a total number of bids that we received on bid day. Just to the left of that is our contractor affiliations for those awarded. So we have 1 woman-owned company, 2 union, and 2 non-union. Overall, had pretty good bidder turnout. Like you can see there, we had 6 for the earthwork and site utilities, and then 6 for the asphalt paving, 4 for the fencing, but only 1 for the electrical. We decided to open that up due to the scope of that project. Power from that will be coming from the new innovation hub, which is, again, right there. So due to the scope on it and the overall estimate that we had for that scope of work, we felt comfortable with the contractor that had indicated that they were bidding, that we would be able to open it up. After opening it, it was pretty much right where we expected that line item to be, so no concern there, and that's why we are bringing that forward with the other 3 bid divisions. Overall, our construction budget was $3,541,160. Our bids came in at $3,524,293, so it gave us a variance of almost $17,000. And that is all I had. Are there any questions?
Josh?
I just have one question. So could you go to the slide with the map on it and then point out, I guess, kind of where the fence that you were talking about is going to be?
Yeah.
Does kids walk home through there? And I was just curious if that would kind of impact that at all. Or?
So the fencing will be right there.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. And that'll kind of make it so that that fencing will kind of make it, it'll get reworked to where once you come in the ticket booth for the field, then you stay within the fenced area for the field. You're not going in and out. So that'll kind of funnel you around the side and then to those visitor side, or that's home side. The grandstands over there. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
You just answered my question, so thank you.
Member Westra?
So on the diagram that you have a square at the bottom that is future concessions building detention. What does detention mean in this case? Is that reserved for future work?
So when we talk about detention, we're talking about water and we're talking about stormwater. So
Okay.
Nick had kind of highlighted, give me that area. It's actually buried underground, so at the end of the day, you won't see it. It's a ton of water that's stored temporarily, so Wayne County ultimately can treat that stormwater at a more leisurely basis.
Okay.
As this all came out, you see this square towards the bottom. Wayne County basically came to the table and said, hey, what's the hypothetical projects you may do in the next 10 years? And that's how you need to factor that. So that is really part of what we had to send to Wayne County to kind of preemptively figure somewhat worst case scenario, what that calculation comes to determine what the volume of that underground detention system needs to be.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Thank you for the feedback on the fence width. Still a little nervous on 16 feet. There's a lot of students that flow through those stands, and that is where everybody has to come through as part of that process. So I would like to make sure that we're having conversations with our APAAs and our other athletic directors to make sure that they're comfortable with that width and that it's going to work okay there. To Josh's point, with the fencing there, is that fenced? How can is the maintenance building that's there? Is that fenced off independently? So
So right now it is not. So this fence would create basically a boundary, excuse me, between the athletics, and then there's actually underneath the grandstands is, I believe, that walkway that Josh had mentioned. So that would still be available, but this would basically steer you right towards the stairs and then the
Right.
ramp that accesses the bleachers.
So what I'm worried about is when students are exiting the building, whether they're coming out from the backside of the cafeteria area or coming out in the CTE wing and walking home through that, can they still get through there? Or, because the way you described it is you said from the concessions or from the ticketing booth, it's fenced in all the way through the concession stand, and that could potentially block them.
So I believe they would have to go basically outside of that fence. So basically the same path of travel that they're taking right now. What this accomplishes is during those athletic events, when somebody comes in through that ticket booth, once you go to an athletic event, you are within the confines of that perimeter fence. Otherwise, those who are traveling to and from the neighboring cul-de-sac would still have access to and from the building outside of that fence, if that makes sense.
I'll have to take a look at what the layout looks like
Sure.
now, and we'll have those questions before the next read. Two other questions that came up is that we do know that there is a pathway underneath the grandstands, and at least from my memory, and it may be flawed, is the pavement in good condition underneath those grandstands?
To my understanding, yes. Yeah, that's fairly new. That was actually done as part of the 2013 bond.
Okay.
When those grandstands were replaced.
Perfect. And then lastly is on the gate, is there an intercom or security connection connected there so that in the event that somebody has a badge or that isn't working or doesn't have a badge, that they can talk to our security office?
So I would say for the future, for the vehicle gate arm that you're referencing, yes. So I think the intent, much like you see it, there's a rolling gate towards the back as well as all the other vehicle barriers. I think the intent is both badged access as well as a button in case you get stuck and need to talk to somebody.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And just to clarify, I actually walk on those paths, and they're in good shape.
So it's going to be okay?
Yeah.
Even though, okay, thank you
Josh
so
says
much.
it's gonna be okay.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
I just want to add a little bit of commentary too about part of our discussion at F&O around the phasing of this. I know you mentioned in terms of conflicts with or avoiding conflicts with some sporting events, but in terms of summer school too, this paving project is not going to impact that function
Summer
over the
school's at
summer.
Plymouth.
Right. Okay.
Great questions. In terms of the number of spots that are currently there, is this going to add spots, take away spots, or keep the spots the same?
So it'll essentially keep the spots the same. There is actually some adjustment in the handicap spots. With a new ADA ramp that's going to be installed in front of the robotics, there's some more centralized spots that you'll see kind of highlighted in that purple, which really is more convenient for the building proper. And then you'll see some to the south of that, and it's really hard to see through that purple. But then there are some areas that are really more designated for athletic events that bring you a little bit closer to that crosswalk for athletic events. Same quantity overall of spots, but it's a little bit different orientation in which they're striped.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you're adding ADA spots. Same thing with the green section. Will there be adequate ADA spots?
Correct. Yep, and they're kind of hidden right behind where it says Phase 1, but all of those are, I believe, the same quantity are still shown to return in the same spot.
Okay. And then question about accessibility in terms of where once students park, there's walkways and pathways. Some of them are rugged. Will they have ample space to be walking?
So the short answer is yes. We're kind of in the throes of two projects right now because we're actively working on the Robotics Innovation Hub, which receives new sidewalks and new ADA ramps. This also kind of ties into that same project and also ultimately kind of wrap up right around the same time period. So the intent for this upcoming school year is by that point, all of those sidewalks are in good shape, working order, and accessible.
And I would piggyback on that too a little bit. As a part of the Innovation Hub's work in construction, we're surveying subsequent areas of challenge that whether it's just poor conditions, falling, heaving, and we're adding those in as we're going to be doing work in the adjacent areas anyways. We're trying to ensure that students can work and work their way around the park and access the new areas, the Innovation Hub, parking lots, everything without any hindrance. So we're kind of identifying that to make sure we pick up those areas as well as we look at kind of this whole snapshot, in this kind of corner of the park.
Okay, thanks. I know, just want to make sure that there have been some challenges with ADA accessibility, getting in and out of some of those ramps, that we either expand those or make sure that there are multiple areas and they're safe long-term.
Understood.
Thanks.
I just had a question about, for phase 2, where the fence goes along there, because I can't, you can't see behind that little phase 2 set part sign there. So, because the bathrooms are over on that side too, across from the concession area. And so does that fence go all the way to where the players come in and walk in, or does it, is there like a gate there to close off and then they open it?
We put that phase 2 block in a bad spot, didn't
Yeah,
we?
no, I was just curious, like, how that, because it shows just going up to the bottom of that.
So
and then
it's a
go around the corner.
continuation of the locker rooms, the restrooms on the backside of kind of where it already extends. It already is kind of placed, and how you've already got a delineation between the drive lane and the pedestrian side once you're inside the stadium. What this is going to do is come off that corner and kind of section off the maintenance side to the stadium side. Security had a lot of issues and brought up a whole lot of concerns that after games there are people congregating towards an open maintenance garage as we're still tending to the field in the subsequent areas. So that's really all this is that spot that you can see is our primary focus. The rest of it replaces, updates, but also connects kind of to what's already there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I just have a question about maintenance and like lifespan. How long do you think these new materials will last?
So that's a great question. That's really all predicated on weather. The worse winters we have, the shorter term it is. On average, they say about 20 years for a full depth replacement. That is determined. There's a third-party consultant that comes out and says, hey, if we can get more life out of this parking lot, we want to do that. So that's that mill and cap approach, which is we'll mill down the top portion if the subsurface is in good shape, and then we'll come back with that top portion. But overall, they say 20 years. The worst winters we have, salt, water, all that stuff is bad news. We have to kind of keep an eye on it in case it needs preventative measures sooner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The fourth agenda item this evening is to consider approval for bid pack HS-7A, which is Salem High School remodeling.
Good evening, everyone. This is for the HS-7A Salem High School remodeling. The overall scope, this is going to involve an extensive upgrade across nearly the whole building. The scope will include renovation to the existing spaces through the school, impacting almost every square foot of the building. Work will include interior updates, improvements to classrooms, and common areas with a focus on improving classroom lighting and acoustics. Part of this upgrade will group restrooms renovations, full renovations. We'll dim all the existing tile and everything, get all new tile fixtures, lighting, and everything else in there. We'll have 3 new gender-neutral restrooms, LED lighting upgrades, classroom painting, select ceiling replacement, classroom casework replacement, and locker room replacement, lockers in the locker room. There'll be some kitchen renovations, HVAC upgrades, and we had 5 alternates with this particular recommendation, which includes a full gym floor replacement in the main gym, remodel the broadcast studio, additional electrical water coolers, barrier-free book room renovation, and exterior light fixtures. So, Derek, if you want to just jump in and kind of go over some of our scope items.
Yeah, just a quick go through the plan. So one thing I do want to point out on the plan is that this first floor plan shows sort of the future. This bid package is just the remodeling of the existing building. We are working on plans for a multi-purpose addition, which would bring Salem up to
what the other schools have. They both have multipurpose additions from this bond. I think the things that I wanted to bring forward on what Joe mentioned are the restrooms. The existing restrooms will get renovated, kind of a full renovation. However, we can't lose any plumbing fixtures. So we've added on each floor some single-use, fully accessible bathrooms, and they're near the other bathrooms. So that's how we're bringing everything up to code, but also having accessibility across the board. And then, really when Joe talked about kind of a full remodeling throughout the building, one of the big things is the LED lighting, which, if you recall, in some of our previous ones, that was always an alternate. But this building really needs the lighting replacement, so it was base bid, and it's in these numbers. As well, something similar is ceiling replacements. Not every ceiling gets replaced, because there have been some previous ceiling replacements, but a lot of ceilings get replaced, and again, those are old and kind of dark, and so this will help brighten up the space. And then I just want to mention the alternates. So the alternates are sort of based on needs that we saw as we were working through with the school, what was going to be in here. And like the gym floor replacement, gym floor needed to be replaced, but it also has an accessibility issue that needed to be fixed. So in doing that, we're bringing that gym floor down to the main floor, the main hallway floor, and fixing an accessibility issue that was there. And then the broadcast studio, the reason that's an alternate is because there's a grant that is working with that as well. So that's sort of why that was brought forward. And then the electric water coolers, that's again a code item to bring everything up to code, the code requirement for the number of water coolers. So I think that's all I wanted to cover on
Derek?
plan-wise.
Excuse me, Derek,
Yep.
before you leave the podium,
Yep.
if we may return to the slide with the diagram showing the scope of the work,
Yeah.
the purple and the orange spaces. I just wanted to underscore your comment that the rendering of the multipurpose room really is just to give a generalized idea of
Yes.
what the layout could or could not be. It's really just a representation that at some point in the near future, we're going to be working to construct and design a multi-purpose room, but not necessarily there or like that. Is that
Exactly
true?
like that. That's correct. Yep.
Thank you.
So some of the bid schedules, we went out to bid on the January 6th, got our bids on the 23rd. We did go to our F&O committee meeting last Thursday on the 20th. We are here tonight for the first read, and then our second read will be on March 11th. There we go. So this is overall bid summary. We got 65 bids, I believe. We're going to be at 20 contractors. We got everything listed here. One thing I want to point out, it's kind of hard to see, but we do have a zero cost item for the wheelchair lift. And the reason for that is we have some of the future work that was talked about with that NPR room. We're looking at a more permanent solution for that. So that's something we've been discussing in our bond steering committees. So it's not being completely taken out. We're just looking at something more permanent, like a ramp or something that would go in that area to make that door still accessible.
As an additional note to that, sorry, I'm gonna jump in.
That's right.
If we were to decide to proceed with the lift,
as a part of this, we would bring the lift back to the board and present it as a purchase to be approved and to be voted upon at that point. So this is just something we're excluding at this time. Should we proceed, as Ms. Minnick mentioned, that layout gives you a whole bond picture. So 3 years from now, when Salem is done, this is about what it's going to look like. The multi-purpose room is being talked about in the actual location, the actual entire east elevation of Salem, and kind of how that's all going to come together. Yet we're still working through the design. Sorry. And once we kind of get a final decision there, get a final decision on that student entrance 16 that's right there on the east side, should we proceed with the lift, again, we'll come back for approval. Should we decide that maybe we're going to go and handle it another way with this expansion, you'll see that kind of in a subsequent design.
This is just a capture of all the alternates and the pricing breakdown for those. And this is the budget summary. So we had a construction budget of just over 7.2 million. Our base bid total came in at, excuse me 1 second, I can't quite see that. So I was doing okay to this point. All right, 6,200,653. With all 5 accepted alternates, that's a total of 913,488, which gives us a subtotal of just over 7.1 million. We've included a $10,000 allowance for athletic equipment that would kind of come into play with lowering that gym floor with new volleyball inserts, and if we got to update any of the padding, anything like that that might be affected by that floor. And then we got a terrazzo allowance, being that the majority of that existing floor in that school is terrazzo, and we're going to be doing a lot of work in there. So if we run into some areas where we got to update the terrazzo, we've got some funding for that. So it gives us an overall project total of $7,164,141, which gets us just under the budget by just under 61,000. So our schedule, it is a large scope. So our plan is to start right away at the beginning of the summer, and we'll continue through the summer of '26. And work will be scheduled to coincide with future furniture delivery installation, and which is expected of summer '26. So during the summer hours, we'll be working, day shifts all day long, and then when school gets back in session, we'll go to a second shift and only work in the areas that know that whatever we can get in, that room area will be done come school the next morning. So if there's a classroom, we go in, replace the ceilings and paint it. We'll go in there and do that, and then when we're done, it'll be cleaned up and right back in order like we weren't there. So that's kind of how we plan to attack that during the school session. And that was it. Questions?
Thank you. Josh?
Oh, there's a lot of information, and I don't have any questions at this moment. Thank you.
I also don't have any questions, but thank you.
Wow, it's a lot. Badly needed. I'm glad to see it. I guess my only question is, with the plan to work overnight during the school year, I know painting sometimes leaves a smell that can be offensive to some students. How do you plan to address that?
So we'll definitely want to be sensitive with that. I think the nature of our second shift stuff will probably mostly be LED lighting.
Okay.
We've done a lot of waxing of floors and staining of floors, and certainly know what comes with that. So our hope would be anything that would impact students, such as like smells and significant demolition, those will be reserved for this summer. Anything we can't get done this summer, we reserve for summer 2026. But I'd say probably 80–90% of the work we're trying to get done on a second shift basis will really be LED lighting. So students one day will, maybe it's a little bit not quite as bright, and then the next morning will be significantly brighter.
All right, thank you. This is excellent. I'm glad to see this. And thank you to the community for supporting the bond packages.
So we've talked about this extensively in the F&O meetings a number of times. I just want to confirm, for the restroom upgrades, we're doing all restrooms throughout the entire building. The locker room restrooms, the student restrooms, the staff restrooms, every one of them is being done.
We are doing all the restrooms off of corridors. I don't think we're doing locker room restrooms.
Okay. So,
And we're, sorry, also, there were a few restrooms that were done by the district over the past summer or two, and obviously those will not get redone.
And then actually the natatorium at Salem, that locker room was renovated as part of the 2013 bond as well. So some of them are a little bit newer.
okay, so the other restrooms that, like, for example, in the locker rooms, they're not being done? I mean, obviously the natatorium one doesn't need to be done because it was done relatively recently, but what about the other ones?
Yeah, currently those are not listed on the bond or scheduled for replacement as part of this package.
Do they need to be?
We could certainly discuss that, I guess, on Friday
mean,
during our bond steering
Yeah,
committee.
if they don't need to be, then
Sure.
it's not an issue, but I want to make sure that if we're doing all this work throughout this building, that we're doing all the work that needs to be done. Or at least that we've got a punch list of the things that need to happen. I would hate to have us leave something that is really needs to be considered as part of the process.
So maybe we can circle the wagons with that on Friday and then come back to the board with a recommendation or confirmation that, hey, for these reasons, this is the direction we went.
Perfect, and that includes the staff restrooms as well? They're already, because I assume those are off the corridors?
I believe so. We'll get you exact count and we'll highlight them just to make sure we're all on the same
Because
page.
it's really hard to see in,
Sure.
in these
Yeah,
drawings.
it's a
so
big
they're-
building. It's hard to
and they're really
whittle down to
muddied
a
in
slide.
these drawings.
For
so
sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
In addition to that, we have had multiple discussions with principal, the AD, the ABAs, all the teachers, the gym class teachers, all of those, to getting their input on what is needed, what is required. So we did not get that feedback that these were
And I
needed.
recognize that there may be more work that we need to do that will come up in subsequent bond programs and subsequent sinking fund discussions. But, just having those conversations now will be really important for us to manage everyone's expectations when we go through this, so that they say, I can't believe they did this big thing, but left this behind.
Understood.
Thank you.
I might take this opportunity to just clarify that the 3 gender-neutral restrooms will be 1 on each floor.
Thank you.
I had same questions as Treasurer Kehoe with regard to ensuring that we have adequate number of bathrooms. All of them are being looked at, whether the need is there to update, renovate, whatever that may be. And is there a need to expand the number of restrooms? And so have students been talked to in terms of, is there a need? Have staff been talked to in terms of, is there a need to expand access to bathrooms? So I'd like to just, same thing as Treasurer Kehoe said, just kind of dig deeper into renovating areas that are really needed, particularly the locker room areas. And if possible, if we could get these drawings maybe split up and clearer, because right now, just looking at the whole thing, blowing them up is really fuzzy, but if we could get sections looked at, and so we can see which areas are being targeted. And then accessibility, to make sure that all areas that are being looked at in terms of going up and down the stairs, elevators, in and out of the building, that we are expanding accessibility, because I know that building has some issues.
Okay, Member Picard?
I was wondering and was asked too, was tearing down the balconies at the Salem gym ever considered or an option? As you're doing the gym?
At the gym,
Yeah.
they were not considered during this design. I think it's important to remember that this bond went through a visioning process in 2019, 2018. So we don't rehash that visioning, even though we do when we go in sort of update a little bit. And I don't think it was ever discussed to take down balconies.
No, and when you say the balcony, you're referring to where the stands are now, which is, I believe, which would be the roof of the locker rooms. So just prospectively, that's what it would entail. Essentially, it's a little bit less, it's a little bit more than just tearing out the balconies, as it is basically gutting all of the existing locker rooms and then finding a place for those. So the short answer is no. I don't know that was a discussion at the time, just due to the grand scale that might involve a much significant, increase in scope of work.
Okay, all right. And then with the time frame again, I know we talked about this in F&O about the burden. Will the actual teams, parents be burdened with, to find alternate practice places during this time? Like the volleyball, basketball, wrestling?
So that is definitely something that is up for discussion right now, because to put in perspective, if you've been to Salem, there is a fairly significant uphill battle that you got to fight to step up into the gym floor. Fortunately, with this alternate, and it's worth noting, right, wasn't actually initially in the bond, but was risen as a, hey, this is a major concern, which it is, removes the entire floor and the concrete beneath. So we're going to remove the floor, we're going to remove the concrete, we're going to sink that floor 2 inches so that when the new gym floor comes in, so it will be a race against time certainly for the start of school, and likely probably linger into the early parts of the school year to ultimately fix this gym floor. We talked about that at length at the bond steering committee. Is there a shorter term version of having it up and running for the start of school? Yes, but it doesn't solve that accessibility issue. So it was really deemed important to, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. But in all likelihood, we'll be probably leaking in the beginning of the school year to get all of that work done, new concrete poured and ready for play.
So I guess maybe that's my question is too, is like, so if that isn't ready, does that become a financial burden then to the parents and the
So the
teams
good
to
news
try
is
something else?
we're wrapping up a bunch of multi-purpose rooms that we've actually finished at Plymouth High and are wrapped up and now open for business at Canton High School. So not to say people are still looking for places to play, but the good news is because of the bond, there are a couple additional avenues that we can utilize during this time, which is what it's going to take to really fix it correctly.
And I know we talked about this at F&O, but I don't remember were coaches included in all of this, all the coaches for those teams in Salem that would be affected.
So I would definitely
Because I know
say,
you said, staff.
yeah, so our main points of contact were Hal Hurd and the APAs and the building principals, and typically they meet individually with those coaches and staffing to kind of bring that information to light. But I'd say our main conversations with those APAs and building principals.
Okay, and then just the same request I think we had that day too, is that like updates could be on the website, kind of more specific as they occur, so they can plan ahead.
From like a program schedule
Yeah,
perspective,
just kind of, and just what's being done. Yeah,
Sure.
the scope of work and all that. I think we
What's
discussed
available,
that.
what's not for a certain
Yeah,
period of time, so
yeah.
people can plan.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Just
What I would ask is towards what Vice President Sadoo mentioned is that the resolution of these drawings is really poor. It's probably fine for when you're trying to mail around a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation, but if we could have higher resolution versions of these things included that allow people to zoom in and see all the details, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
I just had one question about the new gender-neutral bathrooms. Will those all be accessible also, or is that not the plan for them?
Barrier-free, ADA accessible,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Okay.
they will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was the reason, so that we could have accessible bathrooms as well as the existing bathrooms renovated.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And really quickly, while you're looking at the bathrooms, if you could also look at the nurses' restroom on the second floor, just to make sure that that's updated as well.
Certainly.
Nurses' restroom on the second floor. Second floor, nurses' restroom, correct?
So, yeah.
All the restrooms.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And our final item for your consideration this evening is bid pack EL4, which is the furniture package to correspond with our renovations at Farrand Elementary. With us this evening is Jen Mano with TMP to explain the scope and the furniture selected.
Good evening. Okay, so we kicked off the furniture package for Farrand Elementary School in October of last year. And when we started the process, we met with district administration, the building principal, and select teachers and building staff. And then while we went through that process, we were really focusing on classroom and media center furniture and itinerant staff spaces where student instruction occurs. That was outlined in the bond scope. And then throughout this process, we also identified 2 areas of need. So we kind of have these 2 ad alternates for your consideration. How do I? it to the next page. Oh, okay, so be patient. So for our classroom furniture, our typical classroom furniture, kindergarten classrooms do utilize student group tables as their primary seating with the student chair, the cantilever chairs, which are a really great option for students as it has a little bit of that flex that helps support those micro movements in students. And then for secondary seating options, we have the classroom rug as well as the table for direct instruction paired with the rocking stools for some more active seating solutions. We have a typical teacher station, which included a choice between like a more traditional desk or a mobile teacher lectern with the teacher chair. And then we have some mobile classroom storage units as well. And then in the 1st through 5th grade classrooms, utilizing individual student desks. And these are really great to be able to flex in the classrooms with different configurations, different groups of 2, 4, 6. So really allowing the teachers to flex in their space. Just scroll down. And then we'll be having a new art classroom and a music classroom in the addition at Farrand. So in the art classroom, utilizing large group tables so the students can really spread out with their manipulatives and supplies, and then paired with a industrial stool, a typical teacher station, and then some more mobile storage in addition to the cabinetry that will be in that classroom. And then at the music classroom, using those risers, and those are a neat solution, so they're flexible in that you can do more of like a stage configuration, 2-step or 3-step, and they're also mobile, so they can be pushed out of the way if needed. And then we did some 2 resource classrooms in these spaces, doing an additional teacher desk for any other teachers or parapros that are in those spaces, and then really just trying to like limit actually the amount of furniture that is in there, so there can be a lot of space for the students to move around. So, and just a different some variety in the table configurations that we have. So we have like a typical rectangular group desk, and then some different types of direct instruction tables. In their media center, learning commons, you'll see kind of utilizing different functional zones within the learning commons. So we have like a small group collaboration area made of some soft seating options. We have a classroom instruction area with the floor seats that was requested by the media center specialist there. Some floor cushions where they can go take a book and get comfy, and then some large group collaboration. Those tables are really great because they flip up, they nest together, so if you need to clear a lot of floor space in that media center, you can quickly be able to do that. And then adjacent to the media center learning commons, there's a STEAM workshop classroom, and so again utilizing those flip and nest tables, having a small little soft area collaboration, small group area with the coffee table and the soft seating cushions, and then just providing some additional mobile storage in that for the manipulatives that they use in there. The first alternate was really for the main office, so their main office furniture that they have now is really in bad shape. It's kind of cut and Frankenstein together, and so really looking to like update that and give them a functional space. We looked at multiple iterations of where this could be within the space, and we kind of landed on something similar to what they have now. It works with the function and the flow of their office and sight lines and whatnot. So you'll see just some renderings that we have. We tried to keep the finishes as close as possible to the welcome desks that we've done at other elementary schools or other schools throughout the district that have gotten main office updates. So just some 3D views of what that will look like. You'll see in the back there, we're doing just some new casework. It's basically a 1-for-1 replacement, just so it's new and functional and working, and to bring it like a fresh look as well. So that's where they'll see CA60s go. And then we're also doing, there's a lot of pictures. Some additional casework in the main office as well. You can't, to be able to move around the welcome desk, you kind of eat up a lot of the room where there could be storage. So just making sure that they have adequate storage within the main office. So that those 3 items, the 2 casework and the welcome desk, are included in alternate 1. And then alternate 2 was requested by the building principal for their PTA. It's high density seating, so these high density stacking chairs and the storage dollies that go with them. So currently, what they use now for their PTA meetings is just really old, dated, and falling apart furniture, but also it doesn't store nice and compact. And then we had to take away some of the storage where they were currently using those chairs. And so in order to get them good updated furniture that's sturdy and not falling apart, and then really condense how much space those chairs take up, we elected to go for this high density stacking chair. So all in, if we have the quote summary by chance in the letter. Keep going. One more page. So you'll see all in for the classroom, the bond furniture, and the 2 alternates. That puts a grand total for Farrand at 563. Why do I struggle with the numbers every time I come here? There you go. You want to come up here? So that gives us a final variance of negative $34,305.77. Is there any questions?
Josh, you want to kick us off?
I do not have any questions, but thank you.
Saeed?
No questions, but the furniture looks really nice and useful for the students.
Thank you.
I think this is fairly equivalent to what's been done at the other elementary schools. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, it looks good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Look forward to the furniture for sale next.
Yes.
A big undertaking.
Yes.
Just a couple questions in terms of, were teachers consulted with the adequate space needed for classroom storage? I see that you have the media cart for devices, but given some of the innovation stuff, some other supplies that may be needed, do they have bookshelves, adequate space within their classrooms?
There is storage within at the desk as well. So there's student storage that's part of the desk. And then we did meet with their whole teacher group to discuss the furniture. And then they were given a choice, like what kind of storage solutions they wanted. So there was actually, that line has a lot of different offerings. And so then they were given the choice between if they wanted shelving or totes or a combination of shelving and totes. So they were, we did have those conversations.
Excellent. Having been a teacher, space is always a premium.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure their voices were part of that conversation.
Yes.
And then just a little questions, in terms of the student chairs, are those comfortable after sitting on them all day? Any
Yes.
response from the kids about these are too hard or anything?
I've not heard anything like that, and I think these are the really great chairs because of the cantilever. It gives you a little bit of that bounce, so it helps support like those micro movements and that fidgeting. So I haven't heard anything though that they're uncomfortable.
All right, thanks.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
I'm assuming that this has already been considered, but I saw that there's wheels on most things. Are they fairly easy to move around in terms of cleaning and things?
Yes, so we actually do 2 wheel on the desk. We do 2 wheels and then 2 not wheels. So that makes it, we call it wheelbarrow. So if you need to move it around, it's still easy to move around, but it doesn't, it doesn't like move when you're like leaning on it or sitting or, you know, working on it. So it is easy to flex and move and clean, but not so easy where it's going all over the place.
Okay. And I hate to be that person, but you have a small typo.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at the bottom where alternate number 2,
Oh,
density has
yes.
the letters switched.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Just figured
Actually,
you
I
wanted
see
to fix
another
that.
typo
Yeah.
too. Well,
Yeah.
I see it here. So 2 typos.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I will
Appreciate
fix
it.
that. Thank you.
I just wanted to lift one thing that you have in your recommendation was around your phase 2 items as an allowance. Can you
Yes.
share a little bit about that?
So phase 2 is basically the furniture at the addition, and because that space won't be ready until around this time next year, we have more of a not to exceed amount. So we won't, you don't, you issue the purchase orders, but you don't pay for the furniture until it installs, and because it's installing so far in advance, we have a not to exceed amount.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration of all those bid packs this evening for the direct benefit of our students. It's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to human resources with Mr. Maydoun.
Well, good evening, everyone on board. This is our 2025 annual update of Human Resources Department. I'm not getting a 2-second delay, did I hit that? Okay. We are aligned to our dynamic plan goals for this year, which is strategic goal A, P-CCS will increase achievement for all students and close achievement gaps. And strategic goal B, all P-CCS students and staff will report they feel physically, psychologically, and emotionally safe and represented at school. So these are guiding principles of diversity and staffing aligned to the district's dynamic plan. We respect diversity, celebrate and benefit from a diverse learning and work environment, acknowledge that all voices and opinions and cultures within our community must be respected and valued, understand that a variety of approaches to teaching is critical in helping students learn, recognize that instructional strategies, methods, and materials must promote equity for all students, and know that students who learn, grow, and succeed in a diverse K-12 environment will be much better prepared to take the next steps in a diverse world. So we're going to go over some staffing statistics. So looked at our teachers' education level. This is a testament to the type of teachers that we hire in our district because they're lifelong learners. Most folks come in at the beginning of their careers with a bachelor's degree, and then during the course of the degree, they get more advanced degrees. So 81% of our teachers have a master's degree and above, and 19% of our teachers have bachelor's degrees. So a majority of our staff, as a matter of fact, we have 4 teachers with doctorates in the district. That is a sensational amount of highly educated staff that we have here at P-CCS. Okay. Another thing for us to look at is just the teacher years of service. How long have our teachers been in the district? So if you look at this chart, 50% of our teachers have been in the district 10 or more years. And we have approximately 35% of our newer teachers between 0 and 5 years, and we have about 15% at that 6 to 9 year mark. So we have a good we have a good amount of people who've been here a long time, new ideas, and people who are still developing up into their careers. And the last 2 bars show that, you know, the total is 100%, obviously, but 30% of our staff have 20 or more years within the district, and we have about 5% that have 30 or more years in the district teaching. That is a lot of experience, and it's a testament to when people come here to teach and work, they tend to stay here. So this is a slide for student and teacher demographics. This slide shows what our students look like and what our staffing looks like. So for instance, our 52% of our students are male, but like 19% of our teachers are male. Our female students are about 48%, and we have 80% of our teaching staff are female. So to me, that's something like we want to try to get more males into the district, because we would like, there's some power to, as a used to be a young man myself when I was young. It's nice to have a man teach in front of me, because I may listen to them a little bit different than I would be with someone else. So these are the type of demographics we want to see, to try to see that if what we're doing, if our students are seeing people like them in front of them. Okay. I looked at our hourly staff, the years of service our hourly staff have also. And so, so each of our hourly staff segments, so we have like our paraprofessionals, about 28% of them have been here 10 years or more. Our admin assistants are 15%. Food service is about 30%. So are our plant engineers. Maintenance is about 28%. And then our licensed techs, 40% of them have been 10 years or more. Again, it's a testament that we're not come in, work a year or two, and leave. Most people come in, make a career here, and stay within this district. Substitute teachers. Now, we have to date 858 active substitute teachers are approved in the EduStaff system and are available to work in P-CCS. I had to double and triple check that number, because last year we had 495 active substitute teachers. Again, it's another testament to the fact that people want to sub in our district. And our bill and fill rates this year are at 96%. Last year we had a fill rate of 93%. Those are outstanding numbers. It is very hard for a lot of districts to get people to come and sub, and fill rates are always an issue. We're constantly partnering with EduStaff to recruit and market to get additional teachers. We recruit eligible retired teachers. Parapros that are qualified to substitute teach, we try to recruit them to sub in our district too. And we offer them premium long-term rates. So if someone's in a long-term position, they get a higher rate than a day-to-day sub. So some staff retention strategies that we've been trying to use. Our HR Roadshow, it's about building connections. So what happens with that, and it will start, it's something we're continuing. So every week, HR staff goes to the building, and it's a designated time, and it's basically a time for us to be able to go. And I've been able to go to a few, but what we do is that it gives staff ability to come in and talk about any issues they're having or any questions they have. So we're getting that face-to-face time and able to just build the relations with our staff. We also do stay interviews during that time. What happens with the stay interview is that anybody, a teacher, a plant engineer, anybody in a building, a principal will pull a couple of people, and then they will go through an interview process. We take that data, see what's working, what's good, what things we need to work on, and then try to make adjustments based upon that information. Our employee assistance program. We have Uliance. Uliance is it's an EAP program. So if somebody is struggling, needs some mental help, need to just somebody to talk to, it's a free service that we offer to all our employees. We had from January 1st of 2024 to September 30th, 2024, that's the newest that I have so far, we had 196 services, 196 of our employees use that service. Also, like I added in May, service called Moneyline. Moneyline is, think of it the same thing, but for economic or financial help. So you're able to go there and talk about student loans, which everybody struggles with student loan. If you have student loan questions, or if you want to know, hey, how much money should I put in this annuity? How much, I'm trying to buy a house. What do I need to do? It gives people that type of help. We had 53 unique cases. I say unique because what happens with a Moneyline is that once you get an advisor, you have the same advisor every time you call. So we had 53 different people contact Moneyline to get those services, and something we just started. We have to analyze our pay scales and benefits to ensure we stay competitive. We can offer everything in the world, but if our salary scales are not competitive, we're not going to keep or attract new folks. So we're all constantly looking at that to make sure that we are competitive. I have monthly and ongoing dialogue with union leadership. I have meetings with the PCA, the PCEA, the PC, and I'm throwing out acronyms, the teachers union, the administrators union, the parapro union. And we call them problem solving. So the union will come and sit and talk with me, and they'll give us a list of things, and we work out things that way instead of, again, trying to get stuff before it becomes a bigger issue. A town hall meeting, there's something new I'm trying. We're kind of excited about it. Out of one of my meetings with the parapro president, she expressed that there were some feelings that some of our parapros was happening, and I said, hey, invite them all to a town hall. I don't care how many of them are there, and please tell them to say whatever they need to say. I have thick skin, it's not going to bother me. We were happy to say that we had like between 60 and 70 parapros sign up to do it. Then we had a snow day. So we've rescheduled it for next week. I also went for my extended day program. They had a breakfast last week. Did the same thing. I went to the breakfast. It was a chance for me to hear things from their perspective. As I'm still getting to know the district, and they get to see me and just have a face to know like HR is not this evil empire. Okay. So our approved staffing for 24-25 school year. So we had for teachers and professional staff, it was approved staff of 1,122. There was 817 school district support staff, 66 school administrators, and 32 central office and non-affiliated. The teachers and professional staff include social workers, psychologists, counselors, OTs, PTs, speech paths, and nurses. So these are the 24-25 new hires. And these are replacements for retirements and resignations. These are not new positions. So far, and this number changes on a daily basis, but there have been 66 teachers and professional staff hired. We've hired 157 school district support staff members, 14 school administrators, and 11 central office or non-affiliated positions for this school year. Again, these are replacements, not in additions to. I don't know why I'm struggling with this thing. Vacant positions. So, and I updated this one from our last meeting. I believe there were 21 open positions when we were supposed to have this meeting before. The number has gone down to a total of 17. 11 special education openings, 6 general education positions. The elementary positions are listed over to the side. So we have an elementary school counselor, 2 elementary art positions. One of them is a part-time position, a math teacher, an instructional coach, and a counselor / early middle college support staff. Yep. I'm getting it right. So teacher recruitment efforts. We send job postings out nationally, and I'm posting on every job posting board we can think of. We're developing a network of key university and organizational contacts. So right now we work with EMU, MSU, and Wayne State and U of M, and we're reaching out to other organizations just to build these relationships with them. We attend annual teacher fairs. We have an upcoming job fair on March 10th at MSU. We're sending representatives there for that one. We have an EMU job fair on March 12th. We're going to that one also. Keep in contact with student teachers and substitute teachers. If we have somebody who's subbed in the building or who's a student teacher in the building and they are a rock star, then, and if we don't, just because we don't necessarily have a position right now for them, and I probably shouldn't say it this way, I would almost rather stalk that person. And then when we have a position, be able to say, hey, we want you here. Let them know that they're wanted here, that when we have a position for them in our district, we want them to come here. Advertising opportunities. We need to do more recruitment for like social media education programs. Statewide grow your own programs. So for instance, the Talent Together program, We have 6 current employees participating in that program. We're trying to develop more relationships with other alternative certification programs. So you have like Teach for Tomorrow, Schoolcraft, these alternative certification programs that are coming, that a lot of people are using now. And then Beth was tell me about our educational careers pathway, which is a CTE program that our district has, where we have students that are interested in teaching. We are giving a pathway through them while they're here at P-CCS to try to learn about the teaching profession. These are all things that are trying to improve our teacher recruitment efforts. Hourly staff vacancies. These are pure numbers. 31 parapros. That is our biggest issue, but it's also probably one of our biggest groups that we have. We have 1 administrative assistant position available, 6 extended day, 8 food service, 3 maintenance and custodial, and 4 miscellaneous, which are non-certified positions. All the recruitment efforts. We're trying to enhance our retention efforts. Just, sitting down, seeing, part of my thing with going to these town halls and meeting with people is like, hey, again, what's working, what's not working, where should we be going to get people that want the jobs? Generally, as educational institutions, we're much better recruiting for teachers and administrators and whatnot, and not quite as good as knowing where to go to for some of our hourly positions. So I want to hear from them for them to be able to tell me where I should go to get people. And again, this year we're doing our P-CCS job fair, which is going to be in spring of 2025, and I plan on having that for hourly teachers, everybody, one big job fair for all positions. So our staffing goals this year is acknowledging the fact there's some unique challenges of staffing. There's a shallow pool of applicants, not just at P-CCS, not just in education, but you ask any employer, it's hard finding people to come work for you. And actually, the national number of students going into the educational field has decreased for the past few decades. So the school districts are fighting for a smaller and smaller amount of folks, and then our students have more needs. So we have higher needs, less candidates. We got to figure out the best way to pull them into here. Support increased staffing needs in special education. As my previous slide showed, the majority of our open positions happen to be in special education. And so we're looking at, there's ways, the state is trying to give us more ways to get more qualified people in, but we're looking at more emergency waivers and some alternative programs to see if we can get people into the district to fill these positions. And we still have a commitment to hire a highly skilled and diverse staff with emphasis on our highly skilled. So some of my future goals for my department, we want to create more efficient processes to streamline work between departments. Jill and I have been working in, HR and finance, sometimes what goes hand in hand. We're looking at a process to go from, we currently use paper timesheets. We want to go to electronic timesheet process, again, to streamline things, make it more efficient. And we're going to be looking at alternatives to our current HR database. Right now, there's a duplication of work. So HR puts work in one thing, finance puts the exact same information in another system. We rather have one system where it's put in once by finance or us, and then everybody has that same information to stop the duplication of work. And memorializing our district procedures. As a new person in the district, I have quickly learned that there's a lot of things that are just, this is how we do it here, but it's not written that way. So as new people come in and out, we're trying to work to put stuff more in writing, so when the next person come in, we have a book that they can just pull up and say, well, this is how we do that piece. I'm a big person about implementing the employee wellness program. Every district I have been at, I've made that robust. To me, it's an added benefit, and it is also a recruitment program that we can actually have to bring people to the district. And we want to continue to explore affordable and quality healthcare options for our employees. At our last bargain, our teachers mentioned about they wanted an HSA plan. So we created 2 new HSA plans, which are at a lower cost. It's something they wanted. Also formed an insurance committee. We had our first meeting last week to talk about insurance, to talk about what's needed, what options are out there, just so everybody is educated on insurance and what our options are there. And are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Start with Josh.
Could you go to the percentages slide for how long teachers are in the district? Because maybe I was looking at it wrong, and I know you said that it added up, but when I counted it, didn't. So I was just curious.
I got there by luck.
Good job.
So the first 3 are added up to 100%. The other 2 are not. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. And then my other question would be, could you go to your recruitment efforts slide?
My what?
Recruitment efforts slide, the one that talked about like a bunch of the ways that you recruit people. And on the slide, you talked
Is
about
somebody else? Oh, okay.
It's like amazing.
I'm not
amazing.
You talk about how you are posting nationally. I was just curious, like how effective that is.
We do get quite a few people from out of state to find positions. So if I find one person that way, it's effective for us. So it's basically I'm trying to cast the widest net possible. If I can do an international posting, I would. But so that's a mixed bag. I'm not gonna say that's high. That's very been a whale that's given us a lot of oil yet.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I have no questions. Thank you for the presentation.
So I saw the presentation in our SPA committee, so I think most of my questions were answered. But one thing I wanted to point out, one of the discussion topics that we had in SPA when we had this presentation was, what does an open position mean? And I think you expressed it best. It does not mean unfilled classrooms.
So just because there's an open classroom position does not mean that there is not a staff member filling it. Sometimes it might be a retired teacher that we bring back as a long-term sub, things like that. But it's not that we have a group of students in a classroom with no one in there with them. So.
Thank you.
That's a good point. Sometimes I assume. Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you for all the work. It's a testament to this district's hiring and retention policies.
And thank you for the presentation. It's nice to see some of these opening numbers come down. When we looked at this a few years ago, we were seeing substantially higher numbers. I do have some questions about the opening ones. For the 11 special education openings that are there, how long have those positions been open?
The oldest one, and I checked this piece because it came up as spot. The oldest one was at the beginning of this year.
Okay. So we're having a hard time hiring those positions.
We are definitely having a hard time, but I'm also president of the Wayne County for all the HR for all the districts, and every one of our meetings each month is the exact. Everybody's having the exact same problem. No one can find a special ed teachers.
Okay. So maybe we can have some other further conversations on what creative strategies could be done to address that. I don't want to be bargaining, but I definitely having a position that's open. I recognize there's somebody there, but having a position be opening for more than half the school year is not good for us.
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
On a related note, the 31 paraprofessional positions that are currently open, how many of those are special ed?
Honest, I can give you the exact number, I can't bring the exact number, but I would say probably 25, 26 of those are special ed, yes.
So I know we've made some, so towards that end, I know that we made some changes in the contract process recently to help address some of those issues. Has that made an improvement, or is that still not helping to close the gap on the para?
I believe it did make an improvement based upon, I think, what the previous year, I do believe it's made an improvement. Now we are going back to bargain with that group next week. So this is part of the conversation we're going to be having with them. What do we need to do to attract them further? And it's part of my town hall meeting with the parapros is to ask them specifically about what are we missing? What do we need to do? To your end, is it pay? Is it such and such? What is it? So that I can hear directly from them instead of trying to guess from them.
And your town hall has been rescheduled for this week?
Next Thursday, it's the 6th. That's a Thursday, I believe, isn't it? It's the 6th.
And so when do you start bargaining with them?
The week after that.
Okay.
We were supposed to, yeah, so the week
okay,
after
so
that.
I just want to make sure you have the town hall before you start the
Yes,
bargain.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation.
I had a couple questions for you. One was around the EduStaff data. I think that's really encouraging that we have almost doubled our pool of folks who are willing to work and step in when teachers are absent when we need that to be filled. I recall, a few meetings ago we had a substitute teacher actually make a suggestion around surveying substitute teachers after they've subbed. And I'm just wondering if that's something that we have looked into or something that we're considering as we continue to want to always improve and improve those numbers.
I believe that sub is here.
Oh.
And to her point is,
Oh, yes, there she is. Hello.
I've actually turned that feature on. So it's already on and ready for us to get the feedback from our substitute teachers.
Great. Glad to hear it. And then I just had a question about your goals in terms of efficiencies, about kind of bridging the programs that finance is using and that HR is using. Do we have a time-bound, kind of outlook as to when that may happen?
So the timesheet issue, we actually have reached out and we are working on dates to start. I know when I would like to start, but that's not necessarily when Jill, who holds all the money, would like us to start. But that's something we would like to try to get implemented by the end of this school year.
Okay.
The other thing is a bit more complicated because we have our HR system it's very powerful, I will say that piece, but it's no longer supported by anyone that's living on the planet Earth. So that being said, it's finding something that can take the functionality of this very robust program and allow us to put in something else. So we reached out to Wayne Risa to see if they can help. We started along those processes. Jill and I have talked that may be a project for us to be really starting on for next year versus this year. But it's something we are starting to look at. Once we find the solutions and then how much the dollars are tied to that, then that's something we'd have a discussion certainly with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. We went through the first iteration in SPA, so thanks for making those updated changes. And this is one of the most important things that a school district is responsible for, because in order to meet the needs of all of our students, we need all staff in these seats, highly qualified staff. So the concern is those ongoing special education openings. Love that we decreased from the time that we originally met. So just a couple of questions in terms of what's the turnover rate for our special ed students? And you don't have to have that number off the top of your head. You could give staff. I'm sorry. Special ed staff. What is the turnover rate for our special ed staff? And what are the biggest challenges in filling the special education staff positions, as well as the parapro positions? I really want to know what are the challenges that we could look at as board members. Where can we support the district in making sure that these positions are filled with highly qualified staff? We need data. Is it pay? Is it benefits? Is it lack of support? Is it that there's just not enough people out there? We want to hear all of that and just better understand how do we better support Dr. Merritt and her initiative to make sure that all of these positions are filled.
Now, if you like, I can answer some of those.
Sure.
It's a combination. There's not enough positions. So ASD, EIC.
Got a lot of positions.
Not enough certified people to fill the positions that we have, not just in our district, but across the state and nationally.
It's a state and a national problem. There's just not enough folks. The other part is this. I would hazard a guess to say that special ed is leaving more than they used to. And the reason for that, on the county level and in the state level, people are, back in the day when you came into a districts didn't give you your years of service, right? It would be like you come in, you're starting with us fresh, they gave you step one even if you had 10 years of experience. Well, with the shortages and everything else, that has changed. So what happens now is that in special ed in particular, if I'm an ASD teacher, I'm making $95,000, $100,000, but I can maybe go And then, and I say, teaching contracts or contracts and school contracts is like, if you're a sports person, it's like the last quarterback. So the person who got the last contract, their salary is much higher. I can go there, work there for a year, and then the next year wait to see who has the next higher salary, and I can go there. The shortage and the fact that what people are doing to try to fix those shortages is leading to a part where there's a lot of mobility allowed between staff, particularly in the special education world. There are some districts that a first-year ASD teacher, they will give them the top of the scale in their district. I haven't gotten to that point yet because I think the rest of my teachers would probably have a fit with me. But that's part of some things that are happening. People are doing a lot of things to do it. So my point is I can get to the rest of those numbers, but all these things are lending to a greater mobility, particularly among special education. Parapros, yeah, and parapros, it's again just the amount of parapros we have to have, because our pay is with the last thing we did for our special education teachers, our parapros is pretty good, actually very good, but the amount of parapros that we need now compared to what we used to need, if you ever looked at that, is substantially higher. So it's just a lack of getting people in now.
Okay. I understand all that, and I looked at some positions recently in terms of parapros make an average of $14.20. Cost of living, and you think about that level of pay for the work that people do. I want to know in board notes where are we with our parapro pays versus the average in the state and our comparable districts. And what are we doing to make sure that we support the teachers that are here so they don't want to leave? And I know special education work, the teachers put in a lot. It's a whole different level of work in certification, the education that goes into it. What can we do to support them to make sure that we have them here? First of all, we get them here, then keep them here. So they're not looking to go elsewhere.
We'll share for that. We'll be asking for an upcoming negotiations closed session to start the parameters for these two groups that are coming up. So we'll be able to review some of that.
Like your para thing, I have a report I did last week where I have our pay versus all our comparable districts on one fairly large spreadsheet.
Great, so we'll be getting that.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you for the efforts, and the one last thing I'll just mention as a comment, as these learning sessions or listening sessions are going around, one of the things I did bring up was making sure that staff have access to a survey in case they're not able to attend a meeting, or sometimes people don't feel comfortable speaking in front of everyone. So just making sure all voices are heard through multiple media modes. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that, is there any exit interviews or anything that you get any information from that?
Yes, there are exit interviews
okay.
also.
There,
So I didn't mention those in the thing, but because I was talking about retention, and the stay interviews are the people who are actually here, but we also do exit interviews.
Okay, yeah, because that might give information
Yes.
too. Okay. And then I had a question about the, I know we're committed to, the diverse staff, and I'm glad that the highly skilled, you said that, the emphasis.
Yes.
But do we still have is the district still have the DEI statement that's still part of the hiring process?
Yes.
I know we had one, I just was.
Yes.
Okay.
It's still there.
And so that's kind of a concern with funding and stuff too that I have. And when we talk about a diverse staff, I understand, they want teachers to look, and I still struggle with the fact that we categorize people. I just don't think that's right to say how many of these people have, how many of these people have, because there's such a cross section between people and just their whole physical makeup, especially in our communities today. Like, would you categorize somebody who's half black and half white? Where would you put them? I mean, I just and just because they're a certain color or certain appear to be from a certain culture, doesn't necessarily mean that that's their culture. So, so I struggle with seeing that, because I think what we really need to focus is just highly qualified staff, and I think that that's like the important issue. And I agree. I would love to see more men teachers, but I hope that's not like the deciding factor. If between a highly skilled person or somebody who's not quite as highly skilled but they're a man, that we don't choose that we go for the definitely go for the highly skilled because of the situation I think we are with our reading, and when you look at our scores and things, I think that's got to start becoming more of a real focus. And just my concern is some of the, because this could actually be considered something that might inhibit our funding. So, like DI statement, all that, just with the executive order.
So, as far as that go, the HR department will follow all rules, federal, state laws. I know there's a lot of things that's in the air and that's being worked out, and we will, I can assure you that we will follow, make sure we follow with the advice of our legal counsel what we need to follow to make sure that we have the best chance of not losing any funding.
Especially like, yeah, that would affect
And
special education.
also, if I'm looking for a male teacher, whatever it is, I'm never going to hire someone less than over somebody that's better than, that has a higher skill level. That is never an intent, nor should it ever happen.
No, I kind of got that
Yeah.
from Melissa,
Yeah.
you know, that was, so, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ahmed?
Thank you. My question is around retention.
Mhm.
So I really appreciated the slide about how long teachers have stayed here. But what does turnover look like overall? And do you see it more in certain areas? Like, are you seeing more in special ed, or are you seeing more at a certain point in careers? Or are you seeing more in math or ELA? Like, I'm just curious, what does retention and turnover look like in our district?
I would say just my time here, I see it more in special ed now. And when I say special ed, speech paths, psychologists, social workers, all those positions more so. You tend to see them, if I'm looking at this chart right here, if somebody's going to make a jump, it's usually within that 6 to 9 year period. Because about year 10 or so, they're getting close to the top of the scale, and they've been here. So usually if somebody's going to leave, it's during that time frame. And that's my experience in various different districts. I will say with our district, we have a good mix of new, middle, and older, like other districts I was at where everybody was here 20 years or so. They were never leaving. They're never going to leave. They didn't have that issue. But there's other issues that come with that piece. So that would be my answer to you for that. And like Beth has something to say?
Yep, I was just going to add on to what Abdul was talking about with ancillary staff, speeches, OTs, PTs, speech paths, things like that. You have to, also for perspective, it's not just other educational systems that we compete with for those folks, because it's also private industry, which sometimes comes to the table with much higher salaries. So there's a lot of complex factors that come into play, but there is a significant shortage of speech pathologists, speech and language paths, OTs,
Counselors.
PTs, counselors, folks like that across all all industries. So when we're competing, we're not just competing against other school districts around us, but we're also looking at corporate industries and things like that too. So I just want that to be kind of in forefront as we think about all of these decisions we make too.
And Beth, that is a great point. That happens all the time too.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Sure. Well, I another thing too is I just hear from teachers in general, some of the struggles that they have because there's so much things that they're expected to do now, and I think that in the general sense of the whole teaching profession, that when you have to remove your whole class because someone's having an outburst out of the room, that's a very stressful time for teachers too, if that happens more than many times a week. There's different situations like that I think they're trained to teach, not so much to deal, that they don't understand some of these situations, that it makes it difficult, and I think that creates a lot of stress. Just wanted to comment on that.
And to your point, I agree 200% with that statement. I mean, because we are expecting education to do everything now.
Yeah.
And so that is part of the uniqueness of this of our chosen profession, but
I think that change has made a big difference in the teaching profession.
Yes, it did.
People wanting to be one.
Yes.
So that's just my perspective.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Appreciate everybody hanging on here. I know it's a jam-packed agenda with having to combine both of our board meetings together. We're getting near the end. Now we're on to teaching and learning with Ms. Rail.
Yes, and I come with some some visual aids that I'm going to pass along for a little weightlifting. So tonight we're going to talk about a first read of an advanced placement chemistry textbook for next year. AP courses, of course, offer students the opportunity to take college level courses in high school. AP Chem is the equivalent of 1 year introductory college general chemistry course. The AP, the College Board, sets the textbooks that can be used for AP. We get a series of textbooks we can look at, and then we kind of preview those, do some piloting, those types of things to look at which one would be the one we want to move forward. So our high school team did that work along with getting student input from current AP Chem teachers, students. I'm just laughing because I'm watching you all lift these books. And the book that is recommended to move forward is called Chemistry, the Central Science, which you have in your hands. Total cost for the book, and so the textbooks, print textbooks, digital access to the text, and all online resources for a 6-year subscription would be $23,790. That's the for 130 different 130 to meet the needs of our students currently, as well as some additional ones. So textbooks and related materials would be purchased from this year's budget and implemented during the next school year. And again, as we look at the alignment of AP courses, we do these reviews all the time because if we did not move forward with a new textbook this coming year, our text would no longer be in alignment with what the AP recommends and requires for our courses. So I am here, as well as Kevin Carr, our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction Assessment and Professional Development, and Christelle, I'm going to get her name right, I swear it before I'm done here, Rasalanjatovo, who is our Curriculum Coordinator for K-12 Science, STEM, Physical Education, and Health. So we're here to answer questions if you might have some.
Josh, do you have any questions?
I have no questions at this time. Actually, one. Are these students sorry, not students. Are these textbooks class sets, or are students going to have the opportunity to take home a book, or?
So they tend to be class sets. We have digital options to go home as well, but we do allow students to take them home as needed and things as well to just accommodate various needs. I will say that I don't know that a whole lot of people are lining up to bring this book home because it is pretty hefty and pretty heavy, and the digital text is available, which also does have some resources for accessibility and also allows things like highlighting and different things using our students' devices. So thank you for asking that, Josh.
Thank you.
Member Westra?
So I got to preview the chemistry textbook during our SPA committee meeting. One of the neat things was one of our SVA members had piloted the book, piloted the AP offerings in his AP chemistry class, and it was fun to see how excited he was about this book in particular and how he was able to explain how it backed up what they were learning and made it clearer. So thank you for bringing this forward.
So thank you for bringing this forward. I noticed that there was a note in here about AI-driven support tools.
Yep.
Can you give some context around that?
Yeah, I can, but I'll also ask the team members to come forward because they will have probably a little bit more information than I do. But many of the resources currently are using AI-driven tools to help students be able to interact with an AI entity, like a large language model, to be able to ask specific questions to better personalize responses. And, it acts similar to a tutor, but, just to be able to ask the questions and stuff. But Christelle, if you want to come forward, thank you.
Good evening. That's exactly right. So the AI tool is just the students can type questions related to what is in the textbook or a concept they're studying, and they would get the answer, or they would get the page related to that answer.
Yep. And one of the things the AI tool does that's a little bit different sometimes than other tools is it doesn't give you the answer, it leads you to asking deeper questions to build your capacity to get the answer. So it's not I'm going to ask this question, I'm going to get this answer. It's going to build it acts as a teaching tool side by side with the student. So.
Great. So two related questions to that. One is the digital materials, are they offline digital materials or online digital materials?
The digital materials typically come as a PDF version that you can use both online and offline. and allows for accessibility like highlighting and text and things too.
And this AI capability, is this something that is, again, an online service, or is it an offline access?
So it's embedded in the digital version. So they have a platform where they can find the textbook and they can find study tools, and they have an AI talk to the AI, kind of like a chatbot, but it's embedded in the system.
So it'd
it's
be an
not
online tool.
something extra.
So, yeah, I just want to make sure I know whether this is online or offline, and if it's offline, then you have a reasonable, good expectation of privacy around that process.
Yep.
And that the data is not being logged and not being used. If it's an online tool, I'd want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of how those privacy controls are used as part of those AI processes. You know, the AI tools are incredibly powerful and very, very useful, but there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of concerns around loose privacy that goes along with those tools.
What we'll do is I will follow up in board notes with the actual data privacy that it attaches to it. Typically with these programs, they do not require student sign-in and things like that. They're typically very anonymized. But, and we always have our tech team review this, and if you know anything about Mark Selzer makes sure we're safe and secure for our students, but we will follow up in board notes with the information.
I'll look forward to the
Thank you
information
for
board
that.
notes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Vice President Sadoo?
No, great questions. Thanks for bringing this forward.
And I would just like to, could I take a copy home, just to look at?
Is it okay for a board member to take a copy home to, yeah, sure.
Do you need some help carrying it to your car?
I'll leave it here for you.
To carry books home like that.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now that we're all set up here, we'll move on to citizens' comments. And first, we have Roseanne Bali.
Hi, I'm Roseanne Boley. Thank you for letting us speak. I'm talking about the abortion referral policy, and as far as I understood it to be, the policy implies secrecy from the parents to me. I have a bachelor's degree in viola performance and music ed and a master's in counseling, and I taught orchestra and general music to students in all 3 grade levels, mainly middle school and elementary levels in the Birmingham, Michigan public schools for 25 years. I assisted at the high school levels as well. I can't imagine counseling a student toward an abortion. I can't imagine referring a student at any level for an abortion or directing her to an abortion facility. To me, this would be highly unethical. Students can't even be given an aspirin in school without a doctor's note or permission from parents or a parent. If I were in that situation, I'd have to ask the student if she'd talk to her parents or parent. I'd feel obligated to inform the parent or parents. This is a major, dangerous, irreversible procedure. It would affect the young lady for a lifetime, both physically and psychologically. Women who would obtain abortions are at high risk for depression and suicide, and I have a first-hand experience with this. I attended Interlochen Arts Academy for my senior year in high school, and my roommate, when we were in our early college years, attempted suicide and was almost successful. It's unusual for women to attempt by stabbing, and she did, and it was a miracle that she didn't nick her lung or her heart. And she survived that, but she never survived having gotten the abortion, which is what she couldn't let go of. It affected her whole rest of her life. When we were in college, we weren't in touch at the time. She was attending college in Minnesota and I was in Indiana. And she didn't confide in me about being pregnant. Otherwise, she knows I would have counseled her not to do it. Anyway, she's no longer living. She died of brain cancer, and guess where it started? In the uterus. So this is my feeling, very strong feeling about it. Oh, by the way, my husband and I, ex-husband now, we adopted our 3 kids from Poland, and they were all older kids. They were 2 girls were 11 and 4 in 2002, and their brother was 15 in 2004. So I've held signs of adoption is the loving option on the way into the Michigan big house with my 15-year-old son. And so I am just very passionate about the idea of doing that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. About the idea of not doing it, I should have said. Thank you.
Okay, up next we have, thank you, we have Laura Miller.
Good evening. My name is Laura Miller. I'm a practicing occupational therapist and a mother and a grandmother. I hear I could maybe get a job in the district.
You're hired.
I want to say thank you, first of all, for all that you do. I've lived in the district 42 years. I've never had the opportunity or the occasion to come to one of these meetings. But during the summer, and I've heard it mentioned, what's bringing up this issue that you're going to be hearing about tonight. But my understanding is that during the summer, the board did vote to rescind a policy, to repeal a policy over the summer, which prohibited staff from referring or assisting students, actually, to obtain abortions. And that, as a taxpayer, is a significant concern for me and for my family and many other taxpayers in this area. This is an elective procedure that has long-term, life-impacting prospects for one individual and life-ending impacts for the other. And I think the board, quite frankly, if this practice is present in any way, shape, or form within this district, is leaving themselves open to liability for any adverse effect that may happen to the young student that undergoes this procedure at the direction, encouragement, or referral from a staff member. And so as a taxpayer, as a therapist, as a parent, and as a grandparent, I ask that you do whatever it takes to reinstate that position or to somehow make it very clear as to the roles and responsibilities. I heard it said that we expect our educators to do everything. This is something I don't expect an educator to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next citizen is Rosa, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Scriboda?
Yeah, Scribola.
Scribola, okay.
Name to pronounce.
All right.
Totally okay.
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Rosa, as you heard, and I'm a student at Eastern currently. With many family members living and working in Plymouth-Canton area, this is a community dear to my heart, and I wanted to speak as well on the policy that was spoken about before that was rescinded this summer to basically prohibit the referral of teachers to refer students for abortions. So first of all, I want to take a step back from abortion for a second and talk about something that I know everybody here agrees on, which is human rights. Everybody agrees on human rights, and that human rights belong to every single human, no matter what. That is, the human rights belong to every human regardless of skin color, regardless of gender, regardless of any factor. It's our humanity that gives us our human rights. And when it comes to abortion, we know that when two humans have a baby, it's human. And so if abortion is the killing of this innocent human, then that makes it a human rights violation. And when it comes to discrimination, I don't see that as any different than discriminating against someone based on their gender or skin color, because this is discriminating against somebody based on their age. And so I think this is an especially relevant policy, especially considering that I know it was said that this policy was unenforceable for the teachers, but I don't see this as any different than policies which speak to vulgar language being prohibited or anything like that. These policies are in place for protections and for good reason. And finally, I think that it also speaks to parental consent. It's not a teacher's position to do this. And so I really urge you to consider reinstating this policy for the protection of children. And I would like to mention one last thing. I was very drawn to that particular picture back there. It's all for the children, because that's what education is for. I'm getting my bachelor's right now in music, and it's for our education. And the school's here for the education of these children. We should be caring for all children, including the unborn children in the womb. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next citizen's comment is with Miss Rachel Hayes.
Good evening. Tonight I will be reading a letter from a 7th grader at Liberty Middle School, given to Plymouth Canton P-Flag for you to hear. It is unedited and uncensored. Let me put my glasses on. Dear Board of Administration, I'd like to take you on a little trip. Go to the back of your mind, into your imagination. Imagine you're an African American student at Liberty Middle School. You wake up, get dressed, brush your teeth, then grab your bag and wait for your bus. You're excited to see your friends and just have a normal day at school. Maybe you're even a little tired, but that doesn't matter. You get to school and start your day. Then you hear someone say a racial slur. You hear this and go on with your day, but you can't help but feel a little bit of dread. You can't help but hear that word ringing over and over again. It hurts, but you still stand proud. As you go home, you hear something in the back of your mind saying, tell someone. But you don't. You wouldn't. You're scared. This isn't just for African American students, but all children, teens, and adults of color. Now come back to the present. How did that scene make you feel? Get rid of that image and imagine a new one. I want you to imagine you're a teen girl going to Liberty Middle School. You're sitting in class waiting for the bell to ring, done with your work after working for 8 hours, working hard to make sure you get good grades. After school, you might have sports or chores. You're close to crying because of how tired you are mentally, how draining school can be at times, and you're just listening to your classmates talk. Specifically listening to 2 boys. One of them is scared to do something, so the other says, you're such a girl. What? You're such a girl? Do they think we're scared? Girls are scared? Is it bad to be a girl? But while all these thoughts are racing, you break, you snap, you start crying. You can barely breathe, but you put your head down and stay silent, because girls are emotional. Girls are scared. So why was it more scary to say something than to stay silent and be such a girl? Now let's take a deep breath. How'd that feel? After that breath, I want you to blur that image and imagine the last scene. You're a teenager who is gay, or identifies as what makes you you. You're at lunch and find yourself sitting alone. You wonder every day why you sit alone, but nothing can come to mind because after all, you're just you. You start to hear others talk about how you're weird or how you're disgusting. You can't help but wonder why everyone hates you. You want to have friends like everyone else. You want to be loved for who you are. So you start changing yourself until others start sitting with you. But one thing is worse about all of this. You look at someone every day in the mirror, but you don't know who they are. You can't find yourself because you're lost. Sincerely, your fellow student, Joy Ott. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Up next, we have Steve Gentilia.
Good evening. Been coming to the meetings now for about a year and a half. I've been coming on behalf of the community. Now I'm here on behalf of my kids. December 5th, you had an accident in the Canton parking lot. This was a car accident. Involved my daughter. She almost went through the windshield of a car. while the car was driving. Not one communication from an administrator to any family member that was in that car. 3 families were in that car. None of us has been communicated to. We are so worried about bringing more kids to this community. These are the reasons why kids are leaving. They feel as if, hey, this is a major accident, and Board Member Picard has a picture of my daughter in the hospital. She was transported from the Canton parking lot to St. Mary's in Livonia. Me and my wife were called, told, meet us at the hospital. We had no idea what was happening. Not once were we contacted by security, by an administrator, by a teacher, nobody. Where's that say about how our kids are being, and families, not just the kids, but the families of this community are being treated? We're not being treated as if, hey, we want to learn, prepare, and thrive. No. And I mentioned this in my very first meeting I came to a year and a half ago. We need to be big enough to serve and small enough to care. And we're not. When we can't get an email, a phone call from an administrator, that's pathetic in an instance like that. And to have to walk into that hospital and see my daughter on a gurney in a neck brace, scarred up on her face because she hit the driver hit a post. New drivers, I get it. Hey, things happen. She almost went through the windshield. The windshield spidered. The car was totaled. The family's car was totaled. But none of us were contacted, and that's my issue, is that why is that? You know, there has to be a report somewhere. An ambulance was called on site. This was December 5th. This is the first opportunity I've had to come to the meeting and express this. Hoping I wouldn't have to, that we'd just say, hey, how's she doing? How are you guys doing? Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all to communicate. Communication is the easiest thing in the world to do. Send an email with all the things we have to communicate with today. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And if she wants to share the picture, I give her permission to share the picture. So it's just one of those things that we talk the talk, but we've got to start walking the walk.
Thank you very much. Okay, up next we have Heather Gatney.
Hi, I'm also here tonight to read a letter submitted to PFLAG, and this is from a P-CCS teacher. It is unedited and uncensored. Dear P-CCS School Board, I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the need for greater inclusion and support for LGBTQ+ students within our schools. As a member of this community and the parent of a transgender child, I believe it is crucial that every student, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, feels safe, respected, and valued within our educational environment. It has come to my attention that discriminatory practices and attitudes persist within our schools, creating a hostile environment for LGBTQ+ students. This includes the use of derogatory language, the denial of basic rights such as restroom access, and the lack of representation in curriculum and school activities. Such actions not only harm individual students, but also undermine the principles of equality and respect that our schools should uphold. I urge the school board to preserve the rights of our students and children and to take action to create a more inclusive environment for all students. Sincerely, a concerned teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Sarah Krasansky.
I am here today to address you as a mother of 2 children in the Plymouth Canton Community Schools elementaries, and as an ally of the LGBTQ community. Public speaking is extremely difficult for me, but in light of the current social climate that we find ourselves in, I really felt compelled to stand here tonight and speak on their behalf. As a parent, I, like all of you, have taught my kids to treat people with kindness and respect. All people. And yet, all across our nation, people are working to strip away the rights of queer children. Politicians are lobbying to remove their right to identify as their authentic selves. School boards are voting to rid the library shelves of every scrap of LGBTQ literature. Parents are demanding that school staff not recognize a child's chosen pronouns or even acknowledge words like gay or trans. In short, these children are being told that who they are, that what they represent, and that the way that they feel is wrong, is unacceptable, and will not be tolerated. This is both cruel and dangerous. America is being fed a narrative filled with fear and led by hatred. Make no mistake, we are at a vital crossroads right now, and the choices that you make will continue to impact this community for generations. If you allow our school district to succumb to this campaign of intolerance, if you roll back any of the rights we've already granted to our queer students, you signal to the rest of the kids and to society as a whole that you agree that queer children are fundamentally unacceptable. These kids do not choose gender dysphoria. They did not choose who they love. They did not choose to be queer. That is as much a part of them as is your eye color or your skin tone. What they did choose was to proudly be their true selves, knowing full well that they would face mental, emotional, and physical harm for their decision. These students already deal with harassment and bullying on a daily basis. I promise you, if you make any decision which removes their rights or restricts their expression, the mistreatment from their peers will undoubtedly escalate. Fear follows fear, and hate breeds hate. I implore you to realize that our LGBTQ students are children, and just like everyone else, they deserve dignity and respect. It is our duty as parents, educators, and administrators to protect every single child, and most especially our vulnerable populations. I'm almost done. Never forget, your actions carry weight. Your choices shape futures. The people who act in fear, who lead with hate, who ban books, who persecute others, have always been on the wrong side of history. Choose instead to lead with love and be proud when others follow.
Thank you. Up next, we have Michelle Moustakas. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That was pretty tough to follow. I'm going to talk about another group of vulnerable children. And my name is Michelle Moustakas, and I am with the group at the local chapter of Indivisible. And we are, our chapter covers Western Wayne. We actually have quite a few parents who have children in the Plymouth Canton schools. And tonight, I do have something that is written down, but let me start with this. I'm going to start out in memory of a 12-year-old girl, a sixth grade student in Texas. I have to start out in memory of her because she took her own life. She died by suicide because she was bullied, she was harassed, and she couldn't take it any longer. What was she harassed about? She was harassed about her immigration status. Her immigration status. This little girl was told by her classmates, I don't know where they learned it, but She was told by her classmates that either ICE was going to come and they were going to take her away and she'd never see her parents again, or that ICE was going to come while she was at school, and when she went home, her parents weren't going to be there. I don't know what happened. She did see counselors, and the counselors never came to her parents. I have no idea what this girl's immigration status was. I don't know what her parents' immigration status was. But I do know that that little girl would probably be alive today. And the reason that I'm talking to you today is because we have other vulnerable children at risk. Since January 20th, this was not an issue before because ICE was not allowed to be in schools, in hospitals, or in churches for a darn good reason. Why are they coming to our why are they coming to our schools? Why? The kids have nothing to do with this. They are not violent criminals. They are not here. They didn't break the law coming over. I don't know of any 5-year-olds that crossed the border by themselves. They're here because their parents brought them, because their parents wanted them to have a good life. I don't know what the school's policy is, but I am asking you to please not allow ICE. You can legally prevent them from coming in under most circumstances. Please, we'd like to work with you to talk to you about what those policies are and to protect these vulnerable kids, because we're going to have more. We're going to have more of, her name is Jocelyn Rosa Carenza. Remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Nicole Reed.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Nicole Reed. I am the mom of a wheelchair user in the district, and I was really hoping to update my Facebook page and say, yay, the temporary ramp that they put in the Canton student parking lot was fixed, because I had to send it to the board, and I had to send it to administration, and I had to send it to everyone that I could think of, barring a few, to make sure that there was an actual ramp instead of a blob for my son to use from the Canton student parking lot, where he has paid to park and uses one of the wheelchair accessible spots, up to the school. So we're not talking about anything. We knew in November that this construction was going to happen. I started talking with my contacts in November that, okay, if these curb cuts are going to go away, my son needs to be able to get up to the school. Let's do this. We need a portable ramp. They said they would work something out. A portable ramp would cost less than $200 off Amazon. It would have been fine. You could get it, put it down, move it to the construction site that's next. This time they decided to put in cold patch and in blobs because it was freezing. It happened after the holidays in January. I believe in January. And then, so last week my son finally showed me a picture of the ramp that he has not been able to use since construction started, and they were able to take out the curb cut because it was not a ramp, it was just blobs. So they did fix it, right? So they did fix it. It's wonderful. It looks like a ramp. It does not function as a ramp. The cold pack, as you know, needs time to cure. They never roped it off. So your feet, when it got warm, could sink right in. There's now a 2-inch gap from the edge of the concrete walkway to where the ramp is. And because it's starting to go this way, it's really starting to loosen and fall apart. $200 ramp. I've been talking to you about accessibility needs for a long time. I do expect that very soon my son and my family will stop having to vet the work of your construction workers. This is not fair to any of us, especially not to a 17-year-old kid in school. It is not fair to him, any disabled community member, anyone. you had time to make this correct. You chose not to. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Lisa Capatina.
Good evening, Superintendent Merritt and school board members. My name is Lisa Capatina. I live in Plymouth. I am a member of the district, and I'm looking for clarity on the following as they relate to the board fiduciary responsibility to school budget and our student programs. Whereas last year we were informed that the expansion of out-of-district enrollment to counter the decreasing enrollment within our district was to help support the negative impact that the lack of students or the lack of enrollment was creating. We still, this past September, when I came to the school board, there were many fifth graders that came to express their significant sadness that they had lost elementary specials that had been taken away. Changes we heard were due to decreased class sections, I think specifically 30 to 27, and the subsequent impact on teacher scheduling. Additionally, where the board voted to rebrand the Canton Chiefs logo and promoted that the overall cost incurred would in part be subsidized by a large donation from the Native American Heritage Fund, we unfortunately found that only half of that subsidy was actually provided in the amount that was less than $150,000. So now, it's important to understand how this board will respond to any executive orders specifically relating to Title IX. I'm asking for clarity on whether P-CCS will make any changes to policy 5517 that specifically allows boys to use girls' bathrooms. As such, this appears to violate the rights of the young girls that may not feel comfortable with that policy. And as we talk about everybody's rights, young girls should also feel safe while they're here. But if they are not comfortable, this potentially subjects our district to loss of future funding with any changes in whether it be federal or state laws. I'm just looking for clarity on how the board will approach this policy, and that would be appreciated to know going forward. I feel compelled to say that while we talk about other students in the district, whether it's because of queer LGBTQ, their girls don't feel empowered. There were children that came here at the last meeting talking about how they just want to live their life. Somehow I think as adults, we can do better, making sure that all of them feel safe, that negative conversation, name calling, shouldn't be allowed for any child. So I'm here to talk about policies specifically as it relates to funding and how it will impact our budget. But when it comes to children, I think we all agree that the bottom line should be they're all feeling safe, and nobody, while they're in the school campus, should be calling them names or not making them feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Matthew Wilk.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Wilk. I'm a local attorney and a former school board member myself. I wanted to address a couple of issues to you folks that I've heard from members of your community in my role as an attorney and a former school board member, having to do specifically with policy 5517.03. It was asked of me sort of what the genesis of this was and how going back to Title IX, so I've been offering this information about Title IX. Title IX of the Higher Education Act was passed in 1972 to protect the rights of young women in particular. The example that I give is if a school district like this one said we were going to have a basketball team, a singular basketball team, may the best 12 people make the team. Could we do that? The answer is, of course, no, you can't do that. And what law prevents you from doing that? The law that prevents you from doing that is, in fact, Title IX. Title IX is designed to protect the rights of young women. There has been going around a letter from Dr. Rice, Superintendent of Schools in the state of Michigan, that claims to say that Title IX is not impacted, or the effects aren't in place because of our Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act and Senate Bill 4 amendments thereto. That is, unfortunately for Dr. Rice, completely wrong. Article 6, Section 2 of the United States Constitution is our supremacy clause. Federal laws override state laws. Some people at this table have great knowledge about that because, Dr. Merritt, your family was impacted by, from my understanding of your history, laws from federal laws that prohibited segregation in schools. I always talk about you and Remember the Titans. It's my cool story that I tell. And so there were many states that had laws prohibiting mixed race schools, and the federal government stepped in and said, no, federal laws take priority over state law. The last one that I would point out to you as a former school board member, when it comes to that policy, there's no insurance coverage for litigation around that. That's a policy-based question. It's not like Title IX sexual harassment where there's financial impact. You're going to be cut loose. They'll say, sorry, go ahead and change your policy. So to the extent that those facts are put together, I think it's pretty clear 5517 can't stay on the books, and if it does, you risk a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights in Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have John Johnston.
My name is John Johnston. I've been attending board meetings for 3 years and 4 months. I increased to all committee meetings about 2 3/4 years ago. In October of 2021, I came to my first meeting. It consisted of 4 female members and 3 male members. They were a group that stayed in sync with each other. They would have different questions, but an overall agreement to the subject they were discussing. In most of their votes, they were all 7-4, 0 against, a rare occasion where it might go 6-1. In November of 2022, there was an election for 4 board seats. 3 would be 6-year terms and 1 would be a 2-year term. The 3 6-year seats went to 1 incumbent and 2 challengers. The 2-year term went to the incumbent. I noticed a change in the board meetings taking place, though there were still many 7-0 votes. On some of the issues, there were clear objections with reasons given but not accepted by the other 6. Now, the one opposed was treated differently. Why do I say this? During this period, the Canton High School name change discussions started. Many meetings during this had multiple citizen comments. We had commenters who had not only been students but had children, and if I remember, one had grandchildren in the district. The superintendent at the time of that Canton school was built was a Native American Indian. This board building has his name. There were some of those citizens' comments that openly stated that it was their opinion that Member Picard was being treated terribly by this board. She is the only board member I have seen defended like that. Move on to the fall of 2024. The board president announced he would be resigning his seat. We were told the procedure to replace this seat would be a notice put out alerting those in the school district interested to register. They would be notified when the interviews would take place and the board members would pick the eventual winner. I believe they were around 15 challengers. They all had at least 1 interview. Some had more till they reached 2 finalists. As an observer, it was quite interesting. What was disappointing is that when they got down to 2, the board did not vote out loud in front of us. I thought they would at least do that at the end. Give them the reason or reasons so they would know where they fell short. Then in November, a regular election was held for 1 open seat. The challenger won. Will this challenger trend continue in 2026? Therefore, I'm in favor of Member Voss wanting to move the citizen comments to the beginning of the board meeting and hopefully increasing the allotted speaking time to 5 minutes, because I could not include all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, up next we have Sebastian Ostertag.
Just for the record, I am not running anymore for school board. So I know that coincidence. I'm not running anymore. That's done. And no, I just wanted to say a couple words. First of all, commending those who spoke up, the lady from Indivisible, the people from PFLAG, and the community members who were concerned about the repeal of the policy. I think those are all very, very important things. And at the end, the idea was students need to feel safe. They can't be bullied. They can't be, driven to suicide. And parents need to be respected. Honestly, I don't have that much to say. All that I have to say is, you guys know why I'm here. I was here for the same reason last time, and that was before the elections. Jennifer Voss won. She defeated Pat McCoyne, who was one of the people who really championed the repeal of the policy. She was defeated. And so all that I have to say is, I would say you have to look at what the voters are saying, and they're saying, well, wait a minute, we need to make sure that parents are respected. And when it comes to the issue of referrals and everything, okay, it's the idea that already right now people need parental consent for abortion is true, but the truth is there are many districts throughout the state even that allow district employees to help students get the judicial bypass, which in any case, kind of eliminates the whole parental consent thing. So we're not saying that we want a ban on abortion. We're just saying that we think that parents should be the ones who make these decisions, and it can even be as simple as like a declaration. I remember a couple of years ago, you made a very strong statement when it came to racial justice, because it was after the murder of George Floyd, and the community was visibly shaken by everything. And so you made a statement saying, hey, listen, what happened was unacceptable, and we stand against it, which is very commendable. Then in 2022, you actually passed a resolution saying we have to make sure that weapons are stored safely. And it went out to the community telling everyone, hey, listen, it's very important that if you have guns, you keep them safely at home so that students, whether it be suicide, whether it be anything, that these things don't happen. So I'm just asking you, do something like that today, because you did it in the past for the right reasons. Do it for the right reasons now. Just make it clear. Parents don't need to worry about this, because parents are worrying about this. And of course, the policy doesn't say, oh, we're going to refer students for abortions, but the policy now states we're not going to stop anyone from doing that. And at least from my experiences in the district, people have different opinions and everything, but this is still an issue that I think is very, very sensitive, and we have to be careful about it. And I guess, of course, I'm not running for the school board anymore, but I work with an organization that deals with a lot of human rights issues. And I can say this, is that come 2026, it won't be me, but if you vote against protecting the rights of parents and protecting students from abortion, if you vote against this, we will make sure that the community knows that you were the ones who voted no. So just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Monica Miller.
Last but not least, and I know it's been a long meeting. Monica Miller, I'm the Director of Citizens for a Pro-Life Society. I've been involved in the pro-life movement for almost 50 years, even though I know I don't look it. I've helped probably by now hundreds of women pregnant in very difficult personal circumstances, and some of them were high school students. I know that you had reversed your policy, and now what's in place at this point is that it is at least theoretically possible for staff, school staff, teachers, and so on, counselors that could refer pregnant girls for abortions. Now that would probably involve facilitating or guiding her to get a judicial bypass, because we do have a parental consent law in our state that's still in force, it's still on the books. Here's my thinking. There are negative consequences to abortion. What if this girl that was referred by one of your staff had an infection, an incomplete abortion, hemorrhaging, perforated uterus? Who's ultimately going to be responsible for helping that girl? Her parents, not the person who referred her or helped to get the judicial bypass. I think it's very wrong. And I'm going to use the word, dare I use it, immoral, to interfere with that sacred bond between a child and her parents. Parents, they're educating that daughter, they are taking care of that daughter, they house that daughter, they feed that daughter, they clothe that daughter. They are the ones who have the right to know what's going on with their child and to be in conversation with that young girl about her future. And there should be absolutely no outside interference from anybody who's involved with the school district to facilitate the killing of her unborn child. If you don't believe me about the consequences, I'm going to refer you to the February 15th New York Times article, the crisis that's going on with Planned Parenthood. It's scary. So, and this is the New York Times, not a pro-life publication. So I guess it's basically all I want to say. I really hope and urge that you will rescind the policy and go back to what you had before. I think it's fair. I think it's right. I think it's moral. I think it makes sense. I have something I'd like to hand out that I hope will help you make that decision as we go forward. I don't have a copy for everyone, but I do have 9 of them. So I'm gonna, whoever gets one is the lucky recipient, right? Okay. And I ask God to bless your deliberations.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Now we're moving on to Section F, action items and discussion. We have action item number 25-02-49. Consider approval of a resolution designating a representative to vote for MASB Board of Directors, Region 8. This is a first and final reading. Can I please have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution designating a representative to vote for an MASB Board of Directors, Region 8.
Excuse me, everyone.
Excuse us. We still have an active board meeting here.
This is why you do put citizen comment at the beginning.
Okay, thank you
So
very
don't
much.
make people
We're
sit
continuing
around
our
for
board
3
business.
hours
We appreciate your cooperation. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, continue on.
I'll start over.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we consider approval of resolution designating a representative to vote for MASB Board of Directors, Region 8, first and final reading, action item 250249.
Can I have a second? Okay, so it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Member Ahmed. So as a board, we have the opportunity to make a selection for an MASB Board of Directors position. There's one position, it's a 3-year term. This was on our agenda for our February 11th meeting as a first reading, and this was going to be our second reading. We have to submit our vote by March 5th, if I'm not mistaken. So now that has been moved up to being a first and final reading in order to comply with that deadline. We received a packet of the candidates who are vying for that position. That's been shared in board notes. There were also some videotaped interviews that have been circulating with each of the candidates. I don't believe everybody participated in that, but there were 4 candidates who did that we had access to, as well as some emails sent directly to the Board of Education asking for their consideration for this position. I'd like to open this up for discussion with the team to understand if there's a candidate that we would like to recommend for this position and maybe some reasons why, and we can open that up for conversation. Was I supposed to do a vote? Not yet.
No.
I'm sorry.
Discussion.
Sorry, discussion first, then vote. I
Discussion.
apologize. It's been so long. I just had a moment. Thank you. Okay. Anyone have a candidate that they want to elevate and discuss?
I can start.
Okay.
I suspected you might know some of these candidates
Having
from your other work.
worked with Michigan Association of School Boards for about 5 years now, understanding the process and qualifications and people. By the way, the people that did submit are wonderful candidates within their own community. Given that this is a larger role representing the state and advancing education policies across the state on behalf of all students, requiring that experience, I have worked with Roderick Means on a government relations committee for the past 2 years, if not more. Having had workshops with him, And his dedication, he's been on the board for 28 years and has achieved multiple certifications and distinctions of honor and the President's Award. I would like to nominate him as the Regent 8 Director.
Okay. Any other discussion around that nomination? That member. Upon review, I tend to agree with your recommendation, Vice President Sadhu. A couple things that stood out was just the years of service on the school board. That 28 years stuck out to me. A lot of the other very qualified candidates have shorter tenure, so I think that that was a defining factor. Also, when we talk about the level of certification, he had the highest level of certification, and quite a bit to say around his participation over those 28 years. Anyone else? Okay. So if
I just want to say that I'm concerned, you know, we have the MSAB, I mentioned this before on our, maybe this is a governance thing, but we don't say who's listed, when we have all the signatures on there on our board page, it doesn't say a name next to it. So I was, as far as a membership goes, I think that there's other groups that are also valuable. And to just say we're going to have one group to kind of represent as the school boards, the Michigan one, that I kind of feel like that's kind of just keeps us kind of narrow on ideas and things. So I don't, whoever you guys want to vote for, that's fine. I'm just taking myself out of the selection.
Okay.
And I have problems with the NSBA, which associated the whole thing at the time when parents were upset. You know, they were classifying parents with you know, as domestic terrorists, and I just kind of have an issue with that. So
okay.
just,
Point
you
of
know,
clarification, this is about the Michigan Association of School Boards?
which is under the NSBA. That's their head people. So just want to make aware.
Okay.
But they're local.
That's local, yeah.
All right. So hearing no other nominations, I would like us to consider this candidate, and we can call for a vote for our Region 8 selection. So this candidate is Roderick Means. Those in favor of submitting a vote for Roderick Means, please say yes.
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 Those opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. I'm sorry, I didn't hear everybody's vote.
Yeah, I didn't say no.
You
So
didn't
I
say
said
no.
sure.
Sure. Okay, so the motion carries 6-0 for our vote for Region 8 of Roderick Means. Thank you all for that.
And I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
For, if we're done with that, are we done with that? We done with
We-
it?
we
Oh, we
have
have to
one
vote.
more.
Okay.
We do have
Okay,
another
sorry.
action item. We'll go through the action item and then we can make the motion. Okay, so we have action item number 25-2-50, consider approval of a resolution for a parking lot agreement at the P-CCS Educational Support Center. This again is a first and final reading. Can I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution for a parking lot agreement at the PCCS Educational Support Center. So we have first and final reading, and the action item is 250250.
Second?
Okay, so it was moved by Treasurer Kehoe and seconded by Vice President Sadhu. Dr. Merritt, do you mind taking us through this one?
I will start, and I'll have Dr. Bartanian Gibbs help fill in the blanks. So you've had some information about this for a while now in board notes.
Yeah.
As we move to the educational center, that's our pilot drive location, we have found limited parking, especially when we're doing professional development activities across the district. We have really good neighbors in the building that is next to us, so we have approached them on about an agreement that would allow us to utilize, when needed, 10 additional parking spaces from their environment at no charge for them. As we work through legal, it was suggested that we enter into a contract agreement just because of the liabilities that could be associated. Say, for example, there's somebody from our building that runs over somebody in the parking lot. I'm just using a drastic example, but just to make sure. Swimming pool, that's a better example. And so what we have prepared would be a one-year agreement that would allow us to utilize these 10 spaces as necessary with a couple of days notification to that building, and we would have that covered as an official contract agreement for the district. Dr. Vartanian Gibbs, did I miss anything?
you've included all components of the agreement. We actually have some dates on that agreement, which you noticed in that we'd have to change those dates if this is something that's approved to make it going forward. And we would still do a year, is that correct?
Yes.
From those dates, not just to the school year. So questions?
What are the dates?
We would do, if this is approved, then we would move that going forward for a year.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Go around the horn. Member Westra? No? Okay. All right. At this time, I'm going to call for the vote. Those in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes. Those opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Up next, we have a discussion item. This is scheduling, rescheduling of a special meeting date. So I think Treasurer Kehoe, you had mentioned the F&O was canceled due to weather. We also had a special meeting kind of tied on that same date that was canceled, and so we need to look towards our calendars to try to reschedule that. This was our quarterly superintendent evaluation check-in, basically. We have another one coming up in April that we don't want to encroach upon, so certainly the sooner the better.
So probably March, we should be looking
Yes.
into.
Well, considering we're at the end of February, yes, I agree. I think March is safe.
Unless we're meeting.
Right in.
Yes, yes, I feel that's a fair statement, yes.
And avoiding the last week of March, because that's spring break?
Correct.
Okay.
Tuesday the 4th looks good for me.
Remember, I will be at AASA.
Oh, you're at
Yes.
AASA. So when you come back?
That, I won't be available for that week.
The whole
After-
week?
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at the second.
Unless you're looking at Monday backwards.
Pardon?
I was like, what's going on that Monday? Yes, let's say yes, yes. Let's
How
look at the
about
next week.
18th, given that we have no board meeting that day, March 18th?
I won't be available. I'll be out of town.
Okay.
19th?
I'm out of town that whole week.
You're gone the whole week.
What about March 13th?
I'm out of town the 13th and 14th.
Same here. I'm out that whole weekend.
What about the
And the 12th.
17th?
Member Westra's out of town that whole week.
Oh, that whole week? Okay.
Yes, we're getting a pinch here. So in terms of whole group availability, it sounds like we don't have many dates available. Did we say?
When is our
What
date
about
in
the
April?
beginning of April?
April the 8th.
Oh, it's the
Yeah, so it doesn't make much sense for us to meet on like the week of the 24th and then turn
Just to
around
do it
and
again.
on the 8th.
So the other thing to consider, if we can't find a date that works for the team in March, we do have a placeholder in June, I believe, as a follow-up. Is that correct, Dr. Merritt?
You mean another?
Another check-in scheduled as maybe as a
No,
link.
so we do April as a check-in, then I do my self-evaluation in May, and you do the final evaluation in June.
Okay, but the March one was also another check-in, correct?
The March,
Sorry,
February
the
11th.
original February
Yeah.
was another check-in.
We did it was, so we did pick up an extra meeting in January because that November
That's right.
check-in extended, so we had a meeting in January.
So,
And
I mean,
then
obviously, there's more content that you have to share with us.
Yeah.
So if we, for example, were to only do the April meeting, that is April 8th, we said?
Yes, at 5:30.
And but that's only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So that's the concern is that's not enough time and it's sandwiched up against a regular board meeting.
Could I suggest that we start that on April 8th as the hour and a half that we've scheduled? And if there's another date that week we could pick up, like April 9th or 10th to finish that up?
That's fine by me.
The 9th or the 10th would work for me on that.
Yep, I'm open.
Let's see which one.
I'm open the
Pick one of
9th,
those
not
days.
the 10th.
we would keep that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not enough time. So
Does the 9th work for you?
As long as we meet
So keep
after
the,
like 6:30 or 7.
Okay. Do the 9th and 10th.
So
Could we look at the 7th instead of the, can we do a pre-before?
Yeah.
Will that work?
Yep.
The Wednesday before?
The Monday, can we go Monday and
April
finish?
7th.
April 7th?
Okay, oh yeah, I'm in the wrong month.
That would work for me.
Works for me too.
Newcomb?
Yep.
And Cheryl, we're talking about April 7th,
April 7th,
Monday.
yep. Monday, yeah, that looks good.
Amanda, is this okay for you?
Think so?
I have a special meeting on the 8th. Oh, that's
April
it.
7th
Yeah,
would
that's
be
it.
good, because then we wouldn't have anything else on
I
there.
see what you're
We might
saying.
even be
Okay.
able to cancel the 8th meeting.
If we do
Correct.
the 7th. Oh, yeah, because that's before.
Okay.
Okay.
So it sounds like April 7th. Are we good with like a 5 o'clock start? Okay. April 7th at 5 p.m.
All right, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, and then we have one more topic under this discussion and action items. It was around our board governance workshop coming up this weekend, March 1st, as we said. It's the end of February. March 1st is on Saturday. That's from 1 to 4 in this room. We have secured a, this is really primarily an update. So we have secured a facilitator, and we're working to build out that agenda. But of the 3 items that we really wanted to touch on during this workshop is really focusing on our core operating principles, the comments, or citizens' comments component to our board meetings, as well as our communications protocols as a team. And I'll open it up for any questions or discussion around that.
I thought we were meeting at 1. Is it 1:30?
Nope, 1 to 4.
1 to 4, okay, somewhere
I
in,
saw 1:30.
yeah, in one of the emails, it went out as 1:30, so I just
Mhm.
want to clarify time.
Calendar says 1 to 4, but that's a good
There was
point.
you sent an email that said 1:30.
I did, so that was my mistake. So
Okay.
on the calendar, it is
It is
1
1 to
1
4.
p.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I apologize for any confusion that may have caused. Okay? Okay.
Communications, just can you elaborate on communications protocols a little bit more? Is that communications in the board or out to the community? Or
I think it's both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be both. So internal communications, external communications, that's one of our goals. So I think that's something that we really want to focus on as a board
Okay.
during this workshop function. Yep. Thank you for that question. Okay. Let's move on to,
I don't know if under discussion, like to.
Oh,
to
yeah,
make a
I'm
motion?
sorry.
No, that's all right.
Member Picard.
Yes, I just wanted to make a motion to restore the policy 2410, which was recently rescinded, and modify it by excluding the words "in accordance with Michigan statute." And then it would just read as it normally read from that.
Okay.
So I know I need a second.
Do we have a second? Okay. All right. We don't have a second.
Okay.
Thank you for that motion. Okay, let's move on to section G. So this is follow-up board questions. We did have a single question, I think, from the last meeting around community education, the community education presentation. The board wanted to receive some additional data around the participation trends over the last few years. We did get that information in board notes. In terms of follow-up board items from this evening, we had a couple that I captured, and I just want to make sure I got them all. So one question was around the 31 open paraprofessional positions. What number are actually special ed? There was another question around what's the turnover rate for our special education staff? There was a question, I feel like it was partially answered, but maybe may need some additional information around what were the challenges in filling these positions, so both special ed and paraprofessionals, some data around that. And then, sorry, 2 more. Paraprofessional pay, how do we compare to other districts? Is that side-by-side comparison? And then lastly, I captured a question around data privacy for the AI tool for our new AP chemistry book. Am I missing anything?
Bathroom review for the
Oh.
standalone.
Yeah, we want the images, higher quality images of the entire plan.
Higher quality images of the entire plan, and then also a review and audit of the bathrooms that are scheduled for renovation at Salem. All bathrooms, locker rooms, staff bathrooms, nurses' bathrooms, student bathrooms, secret bathrooms.
There's no secret bathrooms.
Bathrooms on the roof.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up again. Okay, a review and audit of all bathroom conditions at Salem High School. Okay, anything else? No?
Just a quick question for Dr. Merritt. In terms of the Realtor breakfast, when do we have to let you know?
You can just show up.
Okay, thanks.
I will probably.
Okay, thank you.
Great. On that note, thank you for hanging with us. I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:35 p.m. Enjoy your night. Thank